What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Kickin' Brass Podcast. This week, we sat down with Frank, the owner of POF USA. We didn't get a chance to get into the review of the CMR, so I'm going to play you guys a little clip. If you want to see the full review, make sure you go to www.justapreviews.com. Thank you.
What we shot was one of my favorite guns that we've reviewed so far. We can call it a review. It's more like just getting out and having fun with it. The POF CMR Revolution.
It's time to start the revolution. Let's start right now. Yeah.
And the name says it all. It's pretty much a revolution in gun technology. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, it's a .308 caliber AR platform pistol. It's a 12.5-inch barrel. But the cool thing about it is it's a piston run gun, number one. Number two, the gun itself is scaled down to an AR-15 platform. You're not looking at an AR-10 platform. So you'll see that when we're shooting, and you'll see that in the pictures. But I'm going to swing it over to Joe. Let me let him tell us what he thought about it.
Honest opinion, I think that's one badass AR pistol.
Badass indeed.
It's a beast. If you look in the footage, you just see us just destroying the target with it. Very low recoil for a .308. Very low. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Check out justapreviews.com. Also, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, JustaPReviews. You'll find us. Say hi. Comment.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Comment. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, even if you think we're crappy.
All right, welcome in. This is episode 3 of Kickin' Brass Podcast. With us today is my co-host Joe and Johnny Phoenix, but not that Johnny Phoenix. Yeah. And our spotlight guest today, we are very honored to have with us is Frank Tassoma, owner of POF USA. Frank, welcome in.
Welcome, Frank.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Oh, it is our honor for sure. Before we get started today, I stopped in the other day to pick up some guns from you.
Oh, what a nice thing that is.
Yeah. And I saw a little bin in your lobby there.
Yes.
And the people who are watching this right now are seeing it up in the air, little floating bin. And you had a bin full of plastic toy soldiers. And it said, being Veterans Day is coming up, take one of these toy soldiers home and pray for the real soldiers that they represent.
Kind of like a reminder.
Yes.
And it works good for when, parents bring their kids to the factory. Coming there, and, it's kind of like playing when I was a kid with little G.I. Joes and stuff like that. But the little green guys, you see them in Toy Story still. Today. That was the brainchild of my wife. Yeah. She bought packages of them at the store, and she thought a different way of trying to say thank you. To remember the people that are always trying to preserve freedom at all costs. So it's a nice, subtle way of doing something, and hopefully get the kids interested as to why. Because that little toy green soldier is a real person somewhere that's actually out there protecting our nation, keeping us free. And that's what it's about, this great nation, freedom. We fought for that freedom, and we continue to today.
I thought that's definitely one of the coolest things I've ever seen when it comes to just a very nonchalant reminder of what's going on out there,
Yeah, because when someone comes in there, they're always asking, hey, what's that? And then they see the note. So the note refers to it, and it's like, hey, don't be afraid. In fact, grab some extra, bring them home with you, and share that message. Pass it along.
It's really cool.
You know,
That's
it's just
awesome.
just another way
Yeah.
of just subtle reminder.
Is that something you do just for Veterans Day, or is that all? It's always there.
It's in the lobby every day.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, it's been there.
Fill it up.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's my wife also did some coloring books years ago, and we still have them at times because every time we take them to the NRA, we give them free with crayons, and it's like the USS Constitution's in there, and Ben Franklin and George Washington. We're trying to give remembrance to the forefathers that did it, put it all on the line for fighting for this raw freedom that we got, because no man walking the earth truly knew what that was, with all these kingdoms everywhere under rule of someone with power and might. You know, so a band of people like us banded together and said, no more. No more will you keep taking from us and taxing us. We want that freedom. And we fought together, obviously. You stood united. United, we're very strong, even today. Divided, not a good thing.
Exactly. An unfortunate part of that's kind of where the world's at right now, especially this country.
But that's why we got shows like this.
Exactly. Exactly. We're uniting the common folk.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and follow up right on the tail ends of that. Today, in today's society, we hear the phrase, thank you for your service, just constantly. You hear it a lot. You hear it a bunch of times. When I first arrived in the United States in 1975, I had come over from Vietnam, and I come to the country at the same time as the servicemen were returning to the United States. And being a refugee from a country that was war-torn and taken over by communists, it was weird to me to see soldiers getting verbally abused. Because when I was a kid, when you were in Vietnam, American GIs were heroes. Every soldier was fighting for you. That's what we were taught. That's how we grew up. So when I got here, we see people, just all the stuff I was seeing on TV didn't make sense to me, even as an 8-year-old kid. But today we've completely flipped that. I think we've flipped it to the point where it becomes completely, we're saturated with it. It's not enough to say thank you for your service if you don't really mean it. Do something about it, like Frank did. And what I'd like to do tonight is to pay tribute to a couple people that I know, or a couple blogs that I know. Texas Place, Texas Army Vet. I screwed that up, but Tex, you know what I'm talking about. Matt, thank you for your service, brother. Thank you for all the people that served the country that are on that blog. And also Military Veterans of Discus. Both of those links will be scrolled on the bottom once we get done editing. But I just wanted to do something to bring recognition to people who are veterans of this country that are finding a community on the internet to be able to share their conservative views and to be able to speak freely about our freedoms. They're on there talking about their experiences in foreign countries that they fought in, that didn't have freedom, that they didn't have a constitution, they didn't have a Second Amendment. And
So they didn't have a voice.
they didn't have a voice.
Kind of like what Hong Kong's going through right now.
Exactly, Frank. Now you guys see why I was so stoked about having Frank on the show. The whole week. It's difficult to find a businessman in this industry that cares more about the country than he does about the product. Now, we can talk about the guns. The guns are only as good as the people behind them. And if you don't have a man behind the trigger that's worth a darn, then the guns are shit anyway. So make sure you guys, if you're a veteran out there, thank you very much for your service. And if you are having a hard time connecting with people that share the same views as you do, that are still conservative, that still care about this country, that are willing to speak up against tyranny, they're willing to say the things that most people won't say because of political correctness, go ahead and join them on that blog. And, have a good time with it. That's what we do.
Wait, what's political correctness? I thought this is about freedom of speech.
You are absolutely 1,000% correct.
Right?
1,000% correct.
So we have voices too. All Americans do. And I think what you're stating is just because that's what politicians and the media want to state. I think there's still a strong core of Americans that love this nation, care about this nation, and will defend this nation to the bitter end. They haven't seen the real country yet. We see a bunch of yahoos because that's what they want to capture on the news for whatever reason, because we have activists that are in control of it. You know, I believe you have a lot more common sense than most of these politicians, you know, to do nothing, know nothing, build nothing, create nothing, innovate nothing, but want to dictate, control, and tax us out of existence. Those idiots.
The partners you didn't want in your business.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, it's depressing at times. I start thinking of my father and my uncle when they were complaining about stuff as they were getting older, and it's like, man, I must be getting that old man.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I bet you didn't probably think this was coming, but 27 years ago, to this day, what were you doing?
27 years ago today?
This day, at 8:30 in the morning, what were you doing?
Oh, you know about that.
Yes, sir, I do.
1992, I was saying goodbye to my family at 8:30 in the morning. I had a brain tumor. And I survived. They took the brain out and left the tumor so it can expand and grow.
That's probably my favorite part of doing the research for you, was that story right there. But I think the thing that was most inspirational about that is what you really said. The cherry on the topping of that is you could have gone on disability. Now, since you already put it out there on other interviews, your father was passed away on Father's Day. 3 days later, you found out you had a brain tumor. Yeah, those are challenges that are real. Those aren't things that we talk about. Those aren't things that we look at.
It's called life.
Exactly.
There was no safe room for me to go run into and cry into. I remember the surgeon right here at Burroughs put his hand on my shoulder, Dr. Daspit, hand on my shoulder, and said, as he told me all the wonderful news, and didn't fluff it, but he was straight to the point of all different possibilities. He put his hand on my shoulder as I'm walking out. I'm teary-eyed because he hit me, and hit me hard, and I didn't expect this. And he said, well, you can go home and cry now. Well, no shit. I mean, you're 29 years old. You think you got the world by the balls, right? And then all of a sudden you're told that, and you're going, oh, my God, I have a young daughter, just an infant, a 2-year-old son, and a wife. What am I going to do? I mean, this is real. This hits everyone, not just sitting here, but across our great nation. This is real life. So for sure, one day we were born. We're going to definitely pay a lot of taxes while we're here, and we're all going to leave. It's just a matter of time. So who in the hell am I to cry about I'm deaf in this ear and my face doesn't move when you have veterans that put their life on the line and they come back, I don't know, in many shapes, from being disfigured or just mentally scarred from putting up with bad things. And it's like, I could work and do what I need to be the best that I can be and perform. And all of us, we can't lie on that deathbed, right? When you're saying goodbye, there's not a control alternate delete for a redo, reboot. There's no reboot. So all you're doing is lying to yourself. I want to live life to its fullest. What road I travel and what doors I open, who knows? But hey, Patriot Ordnance Factory started 10 years later.
You started out as a machinist, right?
Yeah.
In the aerospace
tool and
industry.
die maker.
Yeah. You went all the way from there. You went to telling a company how to run its processes.
Yes.
You became a process engineer.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's from a guy that was, on the very brink of saying, "Hey, you're done, buddy. Your ticket got punched."
But we all have that in us,
Right.
each and every one of us. It's like, okay, so I'm dealt with this card. These are my cards. I have to play them. I'm going to play them to the best of my ability, and everyone does it. You have no choice. You could sit there, roll up in a ball, and cry and just stay there, or eventually you got to get off your ass and do something. And yes, I could cry to the government and got on Social Security, and what would that have gotten me?
It wouldn't have gotten you incorporated in
Nothing.
2002.
Nothing.
It wouldn't have gotten your first AR piston system out in 2004.
No.
It wouldn't have gotten the first AR-10 platform out in 2007. It wouldn't have gotten you the Industry Choice Awards Rifle of the Year in 2017. It wouldn't have gotten you the American Rifleman Rifle of the Year in 2018 for the Revolution. That is what it wouldn't have gotten you. That's what it would have cost
In
us.
2019, the Revolution DI is Rifle of the Year at the Industry Choice Awards.
So we don't know that
3
yet.
years in a row. So
Yeah.
you're pretty
Yeah.
damn good, and I'm pretty humbled by
Well, I'm
what
pretty
you
proud
just
to know.
said.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate
Well,
all the
yeah.
But
quality.
you don't look at that. You just,
quality that we
you
all
know what's
receive.
funny, guys? It doesn't matter what you do. You're just always looking forward. How many times do you look at what's here? You know, every once in a while you stop and take a breath, and you can look around and say, wow, look at this. Look at all this. Where did this go? I mean, you guys are getting ready to break ground and build a bigger facility than what you had. I mean, my gosh, how did that happen? It's because people are passionate at what they do. That's really cool in America. The freedom and ability to fail or succeed. And if you're passionate in what you do and have at least common sense, I don't even care about those pieces of paper on the wall that said I went to college for 10 years. I mean, they're important, don't get me wrong. But somebody, the wealthiest guy I knew, the wealthiest. Oh, sorry. Sorry. The wealthiest man I knew, I worked for. He had a 6th grade education, Madison Industries, Sam Fry. He had 7 factories around the country. In Conyers, Georgia, he had a factory that's over 1 million square foot. He started with a loan from his parents, or his mother-in-law and father-in-law, for hand tools and a pickup truck. And you know those awnings? You know the awnings that you have when you pull up to the gas station?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's him?
they built them.
Okay.
6th grade education, they were doing over $700 million a year. From a handyman working on fixing the Standard Oil, doing work around the shop and helping the people there, and grew a business with his hands, passion, and a desire to be the very best he could be. And that guy went to work in his 80s. I went to his office when he owned 2 city blocks in downtown LA. And there was gates there, but the fire department had keys just in case there was a fire. And I went to him in his office. We were talking business. We got done. And I said, Sam, why are you here? And he looked at me for a second and he said, oh. He said, Frank, I know what you mean. I enjoy Vegas. I'll go there every month if I want. I've went around the world and traveled to different places. If I wanted to see something more, I would. He said, I have a ranch in Sedona, which he did, and he's passed now. But I remember him telling me, he said, what am I going to do? I've built this company from the ground up. I love what I do. I've been part of this company every step of the way. He said, am I just going to sit home and wait to die? And that stuck with me. It was like, because that's so real. You know, that's the real enchilada there, baby.
Right.
You know, he could sit at home, do nothing, and just wait to pass. Or he could still be active in something he loves doing. And if he wanted to take time off, I think he could. Right? Because he has a hell of a team,
Exactly.
7 factories around the country. His customers are the oil companies.
Right.
And
They're not gonna
every
run
4 to 5 years, they go through a marketing campaign, and you change the facade or the look. So
Right.
I learned a lot from just listening.
Well, speaking, here's the thing that always, you say that a lot of people have asked you this question, and I didn't get the answer from all. I must have watched about 120 videos. It's actually 116, but
Wow.
I couldn't find the answer to it. The answer, you said, people always ask you, why'd you want to build Piston AR, right? And you said one of the answers you gave was that the gas tubes are the weak points of the AR operating system. But I didn't get the answer that I wanted, which is usually there's an aha moment for every creator or inventor
There
at some
was.
point.
There was.
You sit in the garage somewhere. And
I was in the garage.
There you go. I want to hear that.
I was in the garage, and yes, the gas tube is the weak link, but by design.
Right.
Eugene Stoner made the platform as light as possible, but the sustained firepower, like you're doing like a bell-fed machine gun, the gas tube will give up around 500 degrees. In that area, the stainless steel just melts, and you're done. You have a single-shot firearm. But what led me to that? Well, I remember as a kid, we'd always work on Jeeps or trucks, fabricating stuff like that, but we never did anything with firearms. We always did what our fathers showed us, or grandfathers, or our friends' fathers. We go hunting with them. Hey, here's your shotgun. We're going bird hunting. Oh, you going deer hunting? Here's your bolt gun. My dad took me out with a lever action, a 30-30 Winchester. That was pretty cool, model 94. I still have it. It's my son's, Cody's now. But the aha moment was I was working with some friends, and we were rebuilding. I bought parts kits from a company called Tapco.
Right.
We nicknamed them Crapco at the time. Old surplus parts.
It's cool. They're not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Get that Tapco crap
I
off
wasn't
my
even
AK.
in the industry. It was just a bunch of guys. Guys rebuild AKs or
Right.
HK91s.
garage builds.
I was building a FAL, an FAL. 308, and I had the parts over there with my son. We're going through, and I was looking at the parts, and I was like, wow, this is a piston system. We should be doing the piston system. And all my friends owned 1911s and AR-15s. I was the oddball. I owned Glocks. The first year that Glock came out, I bought the first shipments in. It was comfortable for me, and I shot accurate, so I bought one. Everyone laughed at me, but kind of going fast forward today, they pretty much changed the whole industry.
Right.
But the FAL parts kit, when I looked at that, I never bought an AR because I didn't really appreciate, and I didn't really study Eugene Stoner, but I wasn't that person then. I was just a hobbyist plinking.
Right.
So, and going out with your buddies shooting. So I looked at that and I said, damn, that's what the AR needs. Why don't we just make it a piston system? So I spent like 2 days, like 32 hours. I designed it on SolidWorks. And 4 weeks later, had the parts. About 6 weeks later, I was shooting a gun. And my wife got upset because we stopped from out in the desert, out by Cowtown, here in Phoenix. Ran out to the desert before we went to dinner. And I shot, and I even shot full auto because I had my license. And I got to about 120, 130 rounds, and then it started having ejection issues. So my wife's complaining, let's go to dinner, come on. So I threw it in the truck. Well, that bothered me. So I stayed up later that night, and we made a gas block that clamped to the barrel.
Right.
That was the first one I did. So I could take it on and off real easy. Well, the gas block actually moved from the shoulder from the op rod hitting,
Right.
going back home. So I took it back to the factory when I was in the aerospace shop, and I ran an 1/8" dowel pin, and it's in the lobby. It's still in the lobby today.
Wow.
So kept a little bit of that history, the first, piston system we ever did. So we started selling in 2004. We were the first piston-driven AR on the market, commercial market selling. HK was at the SHOT Show that we went to. Who the hell's Frank at POF? What the hell's POF?
Right.
Poor old Frank? Or, No, it's Patriot Ordnance Factory. But it is what it is. That's how it started.
Okay. So you're welcome, YouTube, right? Nobody could get that out of Frank.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the simplicity of that system, because you did a very long 38-minute video on it. And I watched all 38 minutes, and I could try to explain it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have you do it.
The simplicity was trying to break up the piston system. The FAL has one piston and completed op rod, kind of like the AK, but the FAL is not attached to the carrier.
Right.
So you got a long stroke piston on the AK, but barrels have harmonics and movement, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so I had two issues. I had to deal with that, plus I had liability things I had to deal with too, because I didn't know where I was going with this.
Right.
And we had used the foul plug, literally used the foul plug in our first guns before I went to a longer one that regulated, because I
Right.
was rotating a piston. So why didn't I keep the piston and rod as one as the foul? Because I wanted the barrel to make its movement.
Right.
So I separated the piston from the op rod and made them separate pieces. I didn't put a return spring in there because the heat's right there.
Right.
So why put spring in the heat? Eventually it's going to fail. If the buffer spring cannot return the bolt carrier assembly into battery, then change your buffer spring. You know, I
Right.
remember a funny incident when a law enforcement guy came to me and I had the action held open. You know how you hold
Right.
the bolt open? And he moved it and he heard the op rod and piston moving. Well, I can't operate like this. And I said, you're exactly correct. Now, unless you're Barney Fife and you got to call Andy to put the one bullet in, every other person in law enforcement and military, when they're on an operation, in the actual operation, they're chambered and the gun's in safe. When you have the round chambered and the bolt carrier assembly at home, you can rotate the gun, you hear nothing.
Right.
But I'll tell you one thing, when that action move is open and those op rod and piston runs, that tells me that gun's ready to run.
Yeah.
And run and run and run.
Well, it's a 3-piece assembly.
Exactly. And the benefit of that too was I don't hold the heat. Like, have you seen some of the piston systems like the AR-18,
Right.
which the XM8 has, the G36 has, LWRC, and other brands like that, where they have a spigot out the back of the gas block, and then they have a piston that's a cup.
Right.
And they put a spring on the back side by the receiver, and when you shoot, it goes back a little ways, stays on the spigot, doesn't come off,
Right.
because the spring holds it, and they have a series of hole. Well, they got one big hole at the back. The problem with this thing, if you're doing full auto mag dumps and continuously do mag after mag after mag, the heat
why.
gets that cup and ruins that piston.
Yep.
Once you turn any material, metal, red, or even a dull red, you've just destroyed the temper and hardness and put oxidation on it, which is scale. You've destroyed that gun. It may have ran, it may have made it, but you've destroyed that gun. It's not reliable anymore. You need to totally rebuild that thing. So what did I want to do? I wanted a gun that allowed the barrel to go through its harmonic movement, and I didn't want to I wanted to get rid of the heat. Why did I go to the piston system? I didn't want to put the heat in the action. So there's no heat in that action right there. It's all up here. The pneumatic cylinders in the gas block instead of in the carrier as the standard DI AR-15 or M16
Right.
design that Stoner did. So keeping it here, do you notice our piston never had rings? So I'm not sealing
Right.
it. I'm making it bleed the gas by. So it's like blow by on an engine that's old and worn out where the rings aren't scraping the walls good enough.
Right.
I just want to dissipate the heat every shot I make as efficiently as I can. So if you look at the gas block, the back of the gas block has a 1/4-inch hole, .250. The op rod is a .190, 3/16 of an inch,
Right.
.187. But .19, you know, .250, the back hole minus .190 is 60 thou clearance.
Right.
So if I have movement on the barrel with harmonics, I have up to 60 thou I can move without interfering or limiting, right? Where the op rod's going to limit. So if you look at the head of the op rod, it's a .370. Our piston's .430. So .430 diameter piston minus .370 is again
Point-
60 thousandths. So I allow the gas to go right by the piston and nothing obstructs it from getting out of the gas block. We also put two vent holes on the bottom of the tube that extends. So I'm trying to vent the gas. That's why when we're in full auto doing like Iraqi veteran 8888, where he does those meltdown tests,
Right.
Our gun survives without breaking or melting down per se, because we're venting the heat as much as we can. Don't get me wrong. You run a gun into the ground, you're destroying the metal. We
Right.
still have that gun. It still works, but it's destroyed.
Right.
You
But
know?
your block doesn't get hot. I mean, it does get hot,
It
but it only
does,
gets
but
to
it
a
didn't
certain
get to the point where it started to transition the
Right.
metal. It got close.
673 degrees.
Yes, it got up there, but it wasn't at the point where it started to transition and temper it. So, and the piston didn't do that. He ran, that video was like 30 some minutes long.
Right.
It's the only AR platform shooting 5.56 till today. No one is beating that. He ran 2,500 rounds. Well, just under, because he dropped some mags or whatever. Just under 2,500 rounds. The furthest gun I knew that went was like 1,100 rounds. I just seen Russia, Klishnikov. They have a video right now. They did the new AK-12, the 5.45 by 39 that's issued to the Russian military by the Military Ministry of Defense for Russia. They did two videos they released. It was on the firearms blog. We smoked their ass. Oh, wait, with a piston-driven AR. They have a piston AK. One went like 580, and I think the longest they went was 680 rounds. And they were proud because it went 3 times the requirement of the Russian Ministry of Defense. Their requirement was 180 rounds of continuous firing without failure. We smoked their ass.
God bless America.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that video, you guys want to check that out. We used to play it here in the store for a while.
Yeah, I don't even. I don't. We used to have it right by your guns there. We'd have a
Yeah, we
video
just have
going
it
on
play it on playback every time.
and kind of on that same
That's how we would
wavelength.
push it too.
You know, when we first started selling POF, you guys took us out to Cowtown and
Oh,
Yeah.
That was fun. Do it
I
again.
mean, and that was our POF sales went up immediately afterwards. You know, it was.
Yeah, do you let the kids play?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you
I had
we
blast.
take all my guys out there with a couple cases of ammo, and
Steel case ammo that.
yeah, we're running the cheapest, dirtiest,
Why not? And we're in the desert.
and we put
Heat,
Yep.
dirt.
those guns never stopped until both those cases were empty.
Yeah.
I mean, they never. It was as soon
The
as
mags were
you
preloaded
dumped a
and
mag, another one went in. I mean,
Yeah.
if they had 30 to 45 seconds break between mags, it would have been a miracle. And I mean,
But how do you do that? You know how you do that? A lot of failure.
And also, you got a 52-inch area.
A lot of
space on
testing
your
too, right?
Aluminum
Oh, yeah.
barrel nut.
But how did we get to all those things?
Yes.
What we did was through a lot of testing internally, because we went to Cowtown a lot too, and we would just go there and do mag dump after mag dump, and we would pound the hell out of the firearms and look for the weak links. Because the one thing that's really good when testing, you have to be safe, but when you're testing full auto with a firearm, it's like oil and water. Eventually, all that stuff comes to the surface a lot quicker than shooting a semi-auto. So if you really want to test and push any firearm, do what Iraqi veteran 8888 does. Just continuously run full auto. You will find the weak links in every single platform, including POF-USA's. You know, we're not perfect. We're not infallible. But I can tell you our guns will take a hell of a lot more abuse than most that are even out there. And I'm not talking just here in this country, because I just mentioned Russia. Bring China, bring them all.
You want your
POF
gun
will
busted,
go-
let Joe run it.
Yeah, I really can.
POF will go toe-to-toe with them all. We're
Joe,
not
you need a
afraid.
job over there.
Allegedly. You need a tester?
You know what? That's the biggest applied for a job. Everybody
yeah.
wants to shoot. You know when I got to shoot? That's when I learned about suppressors. Because when you're shooting in a snail, just function testing, it's pretty boring.
Oh,
You're in a room usually by yourself. The only thing that's moving, because we're all senses, right?
Right.
Our noise, sound, visual, whatever. You hear noise, and you got a muzzle put inside of a hole. Woohoo. There's no distraction of being downrange and birds flying and other people shooting and dust flying or anything like that. What you have is just noise, and the only other thing that gets your attention is the brass. Right. And that's when I've talked about, you probably heard in those videos, 12 o'clock's your muzzle,
yep.
6 o'clock's your buttstock, 3 o'clock's your ejection. Well, it was really funny because I didn't know much about suppressors. I wasn't an operator. I was just a guy that cut metal, right?
Right.
Process engineer, engineering, designing, stuff like that. And I'm tinkering with these designs. I made a piston gun. Well, hey, I heard these people use suppressors. Okay, well, I need to get one and try it. So I'm shooting the gun, shooting the same ammo into the snail, and you're watching it eject 3 o'clock. You hear the noise, everything's the same. You put the suppressor on the same gun, and you shoot it, and all of a sudden now the brass is trying to go almost 12 o'clock. It's trying to go forward.
Right.
And it's like, well, what the hell happened? Well, you just sped up the bolt carrier big time. And it's hitting the brass deflector so hard it's kicking it forward.
Yes.
Because the bolt speed's there. So what am I doing? I am slowly destroying that gun. It's like running your vehicle on nitrous all day.
Right.
Yeah, at the track it's good, but if you're going to do it in daily driving at every light, your engine's not going to last long. It wasn't built for that. It was built for normal operating. And when you get pack timers and a full auto gun, that's when you really see the difference. I won't talk about the suppressor. I don't want to do that to any company, but I had a firearm that was 9.25 inches. Mm-hmm. It was shooting around 770, 780 full auto.
Right.
We put a suppressor on it, this brand, the same gun, and it boosted to over 1,100 rounds a minute.
Yikes.
Yeah. You need a belt-fed machine gun for that.
Right.
Where you have a link that's indexing it so it's there, because you can't have a reliable magazine spring-fed that's going to ensure that fast of an operating that's going to constantly feed consistently. So all of a sudden you have a firearm. Nothing is perfect, not even us. There's nothing's 100%. But just say you have a firearm and it runs really good and it's very reliable and it's 99% reliable. You put a suppressor like that on the gun, all of a sudden you may have a 70% reliable platform, because it's constantly going down. You're having feeding issues or ejection issues, stovepipes, extractor, ejection, and the gun's running way too fast. It was never meant for that. And instead of addressing the operating system, what we did is we started messing with feed ramps, like M4 ramps. And we started messing with, anti-tilt magazines, and I'll be the first one to say that was a great invention. It took one of the two things that can possibly go wrong with magazines out of the equation, because the tendency is to always tilt downward when you're pushing at the top of the cartridge from the ass end of it at the rate of speed. It's going to want to tilt down. So anti-tilt, whoever created that, I didn't look it up. It was the patent holder. Great job, That truly is a good innovation. But you didn't have anti-tilt magazines and M4 feed ramps in Vietnam, did you?
Nope.
In the 70s, they didn't have any of that. The guns ran. They had longer gas block positions, right? Rifle length. Mm-hmm. So they had issues as they cut the gun shorter, moved the gas block closer, and the gun wasn't running correct. So they started compensating by throwing a ton of weight back there, which every time I shoot, it's recoiling into my shoulder harder. So now they need to slow it down, so they keep throwing more weight in the gun to slow it down. And it was counterintuitive. Did it work? But it masked the issue. Hey, we got to cut the receiver now and the barrel extension and make an M4 ramp, because that helps too. Well, because it's running so fast, it's not really properly operating correctly. So they're just masking the root cause. It's like, hey, I have brain tumor, but my doctor, my family doctor, kept giving me decongestant because he thought my sinuses were there. And I had a 20% loss of hearing. If I didn't go for the MRI, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
It was just misdiagnosed. So the root cause is I had a brain tumor. They had to go in and get it, or I wouldn't be here right now. So that's how I'm
Symptoms.
trying to say that the fix initially to these guns were masking the root cause. If they would have looked at how the gun was functioning differently because they kept moving the gas block closer and closer and closer to the chamber, those were the areas that they should have addressed first. And then you could have did some other stuff. Like I said, the magazine, the anti-tilt, anyone that uses other than an anti-tilt magazine is foolish, because there's only two ways to not feed a cartridge into a chamber. One is the feed ramp being bad in the firearm, the other one's the magazine. There's two. So if you take the equation out, then you have one left, unless the magazine's bad. So if all the new modern MSRs, I call them the ARs to me, but I know there's other equations other than ARs. America's Rifles, what I call them. I know Armalite created it, Eugene Stoner. To me, it's still America's Rifle. But if you have a product, whatever you're shooting, and it has a magazine that's made for it that has anti-tilt, don't put anything but that in there. Period.
Did you find any of the same challenges when you were taking the piston rifles down to the pistol barrel lengths?
Yes. Yes, and the other unique thing is the pneumatic cylinder's here, right, at the end of the barrel. So as we get closer, yes, it's the same type of issues. But what do? You change gas port sizes. You small, and I can tell you this, our piston system, even though it's bleeding by, has no rings, right? So I'm venting gas. So the piston system's not running as efficient as if I had rings and it was 100% sealed. But I'm going to build up more carbon and more heat in there. But our gas system, even bleeding by the gas, we have smaller gas port holes than any DI gun.
Right.
Including the ones we offer. So the barrels have smaller holes in the piston systems, predominantly. That's what we've seen with our setup.
And your aha moment for saying, hey, you know what? I'm tired of dragging this big-ass 308 around, and I wanted an AR-15 size. When did that come about?
You're probably not going to want to believe me, but I'd have to show you a CAD drawing. So in 2007, when we released the P308,
Right.
I have a CAD drawing, which Brandon Clark, in our engineering group, the engineering manager, he has an old CAD drawing that Frank did, and it's an AR-15 with a 308 magwell. I wanted to do that right out of the gate. I
Really?
felt it would be better to do that. And what led me not to do it was I didn't know a whole bunch about the AR-10, and the availability of parts were very limited at the time. So I had too many new things to go. So I stayed with the platform. I worked with some people in the industry like Randy Luth with DPMS to start with, got some parts. And then eventually we started building more and more of our own. And then we started shooting it full auto. And when we got this full auto, we got to intimately know. And what led us to that ultimately was we went full circle again. Went back to where I wanted to begin. And how could we do it? Because I could tell you this. Every single part on that Revolution right there, we have a CAD drawing and prints for. Every single thing. Springs, pins, screws, every single part. We have prints. We have almost 3,000 prints in our inventory. You know, if you want to say intellectual properties or whatever. I mean, we have that. Because knowledge is power, isn't it, guys? So if I have that type of knowledge where I have 3D models and the drawings of everything, and I want to go back and revisit something that we didn't try, and we're functioning and running mag dumps on a P308 full auto, I think we pretty much know that platform hands down really good. So we were in a comfort zone then compared to when I was just starting trying to come out with a AR-10 style piston-driven 308, right?
Yeah.
I had to do what was the norm back then in 2007.
But see, nobody in the industry says, hey, I want a 308 in AR-15 size. Everybody says you want a 308, you go up to an AR-10 size, and you lug around that 12-pound rifle.
Well, they would laugh at you.
Right.
Because I don't know where the men went, but at one time, you know, World War One,
Yes.
and even World War Two, we carried an M14. Or at World War One and after World War One, you had the M1 Garands, right? And then they went to the magazine, the M14, which is still made today.
Right.
It's a great platform. It's just a heavier, bulkier gun, but boy, it has some power, doesn't it?
Sure does.
It delivers that power, but you're carrying that weight. Now you fast forward to today, everyone's turned the 7.62 x 51, the 308 into a belly gun. They're all running around with these little tiny AR-15 shooting 223, 5.56 by
Right.
45,
The smallest.
you know, or a 300 blackout. Okay, whatever. Hey, it's like a 308 because it has a 30 cal bullet. Yeah,
No,
I
it's
know.
not.
And it's extremely slower, but that's beside the point. You know, and you still have pistol calibers, which is a big thing today, but you had the famous like MP5. Still today, in my book, hands down the best sub gun ever made.
No.
Historically, that gun just runs. But to go to the 308 and do that, it was like I'm fighting the same thing. I don't like being me too.
Right.
We started this business not being me too. I mean, what's the point? If I'm in it for me too, I'm not going to exist. Guys, I started with $25,000 and my wife's blessing to try to do something, you know. Did she really think I was going to make something move down the road like this? She just thought it was just one of my little quirks again, making me happy because I'm a dreamer. That's the one thing I am.
We still got a shot, Joe.
But even as a dreamer, you still have to get off your ass and do something to make some of those dreams a reality.
Exactly.
I mean, to me, I'm always amazed, and there's still some serious technology. When you watch the news and find out that we had an unmanned spaceship for 2 years that just landed on its own, that was in space, that's some kick-ass technology.
Yep.
So I don't know if our society's totally going apart, but that's some interesting stuff to me, and that's a turn on to me. Those type of can-do things that this country's great for. We wouldn't be at this state of this country if there wasn't dreamers that enacted on those dreams and created things and grew businesses, right? Who knew where this was going to grow? You guys I don't know, maybe more firearms than any other firearms dealer in Arizona. I mean, you guys move a lot of firearms here at Milwaukee Ponds. I mean, it's unbelievable. Would I have known that? No. Does the rest of Arizona know that? No. But people need to come here because there's a big array of stuff. If
Well,
you want some knowledge of products and stuff, I mean, that's why we're talking here, too. You guys are knowledgeable, and I think that's where companies like this have the edge over the Cabela's, the Bass Pro type of stores, you know, the big, huge behemoths that are like that huge aircraft carrier that can't move. It takes, you know, miles to make a turn. You're like a PT boat from World War II. We're quick, nimble, and fast, and boy, we lay a big punch. When we let those torpedoes go, they're devastating. And that's how we are at Patriot Ordnance Factory, too. We build the ultimate fighting machines that defend us against tyrants and tyranny because it was never made for hunting to begin with. It was part of it. It was part of hunting and survival and everything.
Amen to that. You know, that's the thing that scares the shit out of me today is we had our very first guest was also a firearms manufacturer out of Arizona. And I said to him, I remember saying to him, it's like, there was a point in this country when Samuel Colt and John Browning were the heroes of our country. Those men were heroes. They were creating firearms for the military that protected this country against foreign invaders. And within, the
How about just surviving on the farm and putting
That
food
too.
on the table?
yes,
You had to have some good product because
Remington,
you had a
200 years.
I'm proud of. I'm not proud of where they are lately.
Right.
You know,
The
But
legacy.
you're right. I never want to see them go away. 1813. They're over 200 years old. They are the oldest U.S. manufacturer in the United States. I would never want that. I wish they were ran and operated by people like us that are passionate, that actually care.
Frank, there's some kid out there right now that's mechanically inclined, right? I hope he's watching. I hope his dad or his mom are watching. That they're going to see somebody like you, because as much as we want to spread the message about freedom in America and the fight against tyranny and about just the United States and our culture, our way of life, the defense of our country and the way we live, we don't have the technological knowledge that you do. That's why I was so hyped up to have you on here, because I wanted you to show more of you than of your rifle. Because without you, that rifle doesn't mean anything. If you're not around, if people aren't down the road, the generations ahead, they're not going to have a platform. They don't have your CAD drawings.
As
But they
long
do
as they're
have your
passionate.
testimony.
As long as they're passionate, like my son Cody.
Yeah.
My son Cody doesn't have this big posh office. He's out on the shop floor. He builds these guns. He's been
Good for
working
him.
with me since he was 15-year-old in high school as a kid to earn extra money. He intimately knows. He doesn't even have to. He could just shoot a gun and tell you pretty much from the feel of it and how it shoots what's wrong with it. Or if it's really good and it's good to go.
That gun's going to sell itself. This shop's going to sell itself. The United States of America won't sell itself. It needs people like you.
Yeah, but same with you. Put a mirror up. Look in it, guys. We're all the same, each and every one of us. It takes all of us to do something that's important. As long as we're together, united, we can accomplish anything. I look at myself. I feel inadequate in so many ways. In so many ways. You may not think so. Because we all have a facade to ourselves that, oh man, look at that guy. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. We all go through trials and tribulations and different things that affect our life, right? But at the end of the day, love of family, love of friends, pray to God.
Absolutely.
There's something better than us, and I'm not trying to. There's something greater than us. I often looked at that because, wow, how did all this begin? Where did all this or? Anyways, I don't want to go down a different path, but I think number one, you got to believe in yourself. Number two, you got to be somewhat of a dreamer. Number three, be passionate about what you do. And somewhere along the line, you got to have that gumption to just try it, to fail or succeed. And I think you can make something of it. And firearms to me are like cars or bikes or trucks or Jeeps or whatever. Some of my hobbies, I go to Good Guys or SEMA. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go this year. It just happened. That's the ultimate car show. But I really love going. It's just to see people, because some of them are work of arts to me. How did they fabricate something? And they make you question why. That three-letter word's really powerful. Ask yourself why with certain things. Why we do what we do. You'll go through processes, and everything's a process, guys. How do you cook your eggs? Well, my wife said, you don't. You'll burn them. You're right. I'm blessed I'm married.
Good stuff.
If I can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and top ramen, I'm good to go. That's about a guy thing for me. My wife's a really good cook. That's how I got this way.
One thing,
Fat and happy.
One thing I can say is, being in the industry as long as I've been in the industry for, when you first made the revolution, you came in here one day and you brought it in here. I don't know if you remember that day or not. but it was before you released it.
Yeah.
And you're like, guys, check this thing out. And we were looking at this thing, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, it's an AR-15, you know. And I'm like,
What's the big deal exactly?
why the hell is the mag well so big on this thing? And then I looked
Why
at
the
it, and
hell
I'm
is
like,
he so excited?
yeah,
You know, okay.
exactly. And and I looked at it, I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a 308. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, God, this thing is tiny. But, you know, as long as I've been selling guns, and as long as I've been going up to SHOT Show, and, you know, having sales reps come in here and show you the newest, greatest, and, you know, I can honestly say I have never seen a product turn the SHOT Show upside down like the Revolution did.
Thank you.
And that's
probably my biggest wow moment too.
I think that was your first year that you went to SHOT Show, if I'm not mistaken.
I was there when he brought it in first.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is the Revolution."
But it's you know, when you have a show like SHOT Show, and you know, anybody who's watching this that's never been to SHOT Show, it's kind of hard to fathom the giganticness of it, you know, as far as you've got these manufacturers from all over the world, you know, showing their newest wares. And, you know, but when you have a product that you hear everybody talking about at SHOT Show, I mean, that was, honestly, kudos to you. I mean, that was definitely the...
And you get to hear more of it because I'm stuck in the booth talking to people. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to hear from other people in the industry like yourself that've been around quite some time. When you hear things like that, you feel humbled. You feel blessed. You feel, I don't know, really good.
You feel proud.
Yeah, you feel proud, but it's not just you yourself. You feel proud for the team. It's like, fuck yeah, we did it. we did something that meant something. Yeah. You know, because I think what we're created, we forced ourselves through engineering, having all that knowledge, we forced ourselves and say, okay, if we go back and look at that print from 2006, where we had an AR-15, we had to keep the same dimensional size, pinhole to pinhole, and overall size. We know the width gets wider because it's a 308 mag, so it's a little wider. There's nothing I can do that. Can we make it fit? I mean, when you've seen it now, you know that the bolt's the same friggin' size as an M16 bolt, other than the geometry of the face is larger. It will go into an M16 barrel extension, that same bolt, as an M16. And that barrel extension's the same size as the M16. That's why that gun's the same size. The problem we had, too, is this. You understand it now. Many people, including consumers, didn't understand what we did. They didn't appreciate that we literally made an M16 AR-15 shoot 308. And having our piston system with our continuous rail and the backbone, the MRR, the modular rail receiver that we designed. It's a patented feature we created. It looks different, and we're very visual, all of us. So if I would, and I'll take it from this, you have a scar in the wall over there. If we would have did the AR-15 shooting 308 but gave it a new skin, like say the scar, then everyone went, holy shit, what is this? You know? But it took industry people to understand it quicker, which you heard. But a lot of that wasn't even, writers didn't even really understand it. You know when they started really understanding? And you said, I got Rifle of the Year. I did. 2017, the piston gun right here, Revolution. Rifle of the Year from the Industry Choice Awards. 2018, the Golden Bullseye, the NRA. The same thing, the piston. 2019, we submitted to the Industry Choice Awards the DI version of the Revolution that had a standard flat top upper and a rail. So it literally, it's an AR-15. To everyone that visually looks at it and it was like, well, wait a second. That's when it started hitting more of the writers and the consumers, like, that's an AR-15. No, it's not. Here's 308 mag that goes in it. No, it can't be. Yeah. We engineered the unobtainable. We made it obtainable. We engineered something that people would say, oh, there's no friggin' way you can make that happen. That's why we've always had these heavy guns. Okay, in 2000, I forgot the year of it. Remember when the G2 came out from DPMS? 2 years prior to that, there was a big famous name that part of our country's heritage I would never want to see go away. Samuel Colt.
The 901.
Colt, the 901. That was, unfortunately, DPMS did a great marketing, and I sound the oxymoron there, but I'll tell you, let me explain why. Unfortunately, a great marketing campaign. They called it the small frame. So, to me, the small frame for the AR-15 MSR type AR-15 stuff. The M16 AR-15 is the small frame. The AR-10 is the large frame. It's an 1.5 inch longer receiver set. When Colt made the 901, they made it work with an adapter to take the M16 uppers too, right? They didn't market to the consumer. They were trying to do something with the military. And it was still a heavy gun, but it was a 1/2 inch shorter. They didn't call it a small frame. They just called it their Colt 901. They took an adapter, didn't go anywhere. Adam Ballard, the engineer for DPMS, all he did was plagiarize the 901 Colt. He didn't create that. He just took a 901 Colt, did some measurements. How I knew this, because the bolt carrier and bolt assembly is the same size. The charging handle is the same size. Why would I know that? Because we were selling our Ambi charging handles for the AR-10. And customers were calling us, dealers like yourself, were calling us saying, hey, we're having problems with our Ambi charging handle. It won't work in the DPMS, the G2, right? Oh, yeah, well, that's the small frame. Because I'm even repeating it because that's how they marketed it. And then he said, well, it doesn't work in my Colt 901. And I said, what? Time out here. You're telling me the Colt 901 doesn't work? Do me a favor. Pull the bolt carrier assembly out. Push the bolt down and stand the bolt in the carrier and stand them up vertically next to each other. Take a picture. Send it to me. They're identical. So the DPMS design and everyone that's went off a DPS design from the G2 platform did what Colt did. But we went beyond that. We're still an inch shorter than that. We're the AR-15 size, not the AR-10, which is 1.5 inches longer. So the standard AR-10 is an 1.5 inches longer receiver and bolt carrier assembly. The 901 Colt, the G2, and anyone else that claims they have a small frame, I call them intermediate frames, which makes sense to me. It's in between the small frame AR-15 to the large frame AR-10, and you're 1/2 inch shorter, so you're more towards the high end, but I'll grant you're in between. And we forced ourselves to work with the AR-15. We had to mess a lot with materials. We had a lot of failures. But failure is a good thing if you actually look at it for what it is. You learn from mistakes. Very important. Don't ever have a mistake happen that you don't review why you failed. It could be just you being ignorant or bullheaded and not being open to what the results truly were. And through testing and doing that, I have a video called Let Freedom Ring.
I'm sure I saw it.
Where I did like 7 mag dumps shooting the 7.62 by 51 308 firepower out of 14.5 inch barrel. Everyone thought I was shooting the P308 doing mag dumps. I didn't say what it was. It was during testing. And I played with the camera at the end. I had 7 mags that were left and I did mag dumps. And if you look towards the end, I'm swinging the thing. If you stop it there, you would see the resemblance of that lower. It had a different rail. It had our different style rail system before we went to the Edge style rail. But it was that smaller receiver. We were testing and beating the hell out of the gun. And we got to find out, hey, we learned a lot about the bolt, the extractor, the barrel extension, all those things. Recoil. Man, okay, so why is this thing recoil kind of different?
What doesn't
It's
it
not
do for
really
you?
an AR-15, but it's not really abusive like an AR-10, is it?
No, it's not. That's the one thing that I noticed the most.
So we can talk with mass. The heavier your carrier is, you got all that mass hitting you and pushing you. That carrier, well, it's a lighter weight carrier on the DI version than the piston, but it's an AR-15 carrier. So the weight's way down compared to an AR-10. Now, what's the other part of the equation? I'm still throwing out a 308 case. Well, that's a lot bigger cartridge, so that carrier's got to stroke further. So I'm stroking over an inch in my total cycle. So I'm actually, it's never too slow to keep up with a fast trigger. You know, someone that can push a trigger really fast. The action will keep up with it. But because we're stroking further than a standard AR-15, that and the lighter weight carrier has a big effect on mitigating that heavy recoil. Because the gun overall weight keeps getting lighter and lighter.
That's the thing that confused me. It's like the lower mass you have, the more recoil you should have.
And what really sucks about this is you can't really go to the corner and go to a car lot and test drive it. You got to go with friends or go out to an event that has a shooting, because you're not going to really believe it. You can watch videos, but actually shooting it is when you go, what the hell? Because most people, they'll bear down on the gun because, oh man, this is like, it's going to kick like a mule. They take one shot and then they stand up and it's like, what the?
That's exactly what I did.
But, you know,
Right.
It's like, I don't need to bear down into this thing. This is comfortable to shoot. So I believe, why did I say we built the ultimate fighting machine to defend us against tyrants and tyranny? The revolution was the beginning of that. There was only two doorways. There was a carbine, light, fast, quick, accurate, easy to manipulate, all the great things of carbines, and they're using them as an overall gun. Then you got the heavy battle rifle AR-10s, which, like I said earlier, they've turned into belly guns where everyone's laying on their belly, you know, because that's all they want to use them for. Well, what happens when you're hunting out in the field? How often do you really get to take a shot from your belly? Like almost nil to none. So you need a platform that's light enough but doesn't kick your butt when you shoot it, and you can lay an accurate cartridge, you know, on the game that you're doing. And I think what we did is we gave a new doorway in between that, the third doorway that's never been there. So I appreciated that when you said earlier that the industry was talking about it, because I believe we actually created something new. Like Eugene Stoner created the ARs. He is the creator of that. I can never take that away. I'm blessed that he did, because I'm also in business because of him. Him and also Colt, because Colt kept this product going for many years, and then others got into the fold. And that's why America's so great, because you have so many opportunities, right? You're not forced to buy one thing. Freedom, our individual right of choice, you have opportunities. So I think we gave a new third door opening, and that is, I believe, what the ultimate fighting machine is having all the attributes of the AR-15. Lightweight, easy to maneuver, quick, nimble, fast, accurate, easy to handle, but it never had really a large punch. And we moved it over here, and we put the horsepower, that big block engine, a nitrous turboed, twin turbo, pushing the motor to the extreme of the battle rifle cartridge, and we shoved it into that AR-15. And now you have something that's a whole dynamic change of how this platform can work. I mean, you guys shot this little gun. I mean, I believe it's a game changer. I believe we just bred life back into a 1964 design that was released in the military, you know, from the last century. Eugene Stoner created the AR-10 in the mid-50s, and was asked by the military to do that smaller, lighter cartridge and lighter gun. So I think all we did is breathe more life into the platform.
I think, especially with the pistol version of this gun, the thing that really impressed me was that when I sat down, I was like, okay, so we're going from, let's say we're going from a 16, 18, 20-inch barrel down to a 12.5-inch barrel. How much velocity and how much energy am I losing? So I was talking with Byron before the show. I said, hey, Byron, what do you think, man? When you chop that barrel down to 12.5 from, let's say, 20, how many feet per second do you think you're losing per inch? What'd you say it was?
I said 250. I didn't know. I wouldn't even have known where to start on that.
Yeah, I could. I was like, man, let me look it up, right? So I started looking at ballistic stuff on Google and stuff. You're losing 20 feet per second per inch.
Well,
Ish.
no, but I could tell you this: the optimal for is 14.5. It's kind of weird. From 14.5 on up, you're only gaining 20, 25 feet an inch. So I just say 25 feet. You take 4 inches, hey, you've lost 100 feet. 6 inches, say a 24-inch barrel down to a 16-inch, you've lost 200 feet. And 308 is an 800-meter cartridge. Oh, yeah, I shoot to 1,100 yards or whatever. Yeah, okay. You're lobbing it in. Okay, I understand. But when I'm hunting, I try to do, like, ethical hunt. I prefer hunting way less than 300, hopefully below 200. I want my shots to count. I've hunted many times with a fixed muzzle device on a 14.5-inch barrel with 180 grain AccuBond. I want as much energy and delivered, and we also look at distance, what the velocity, what the energy is. So if I was doing like black bear, I don't want to go less than 1,500 pounds of energy.
But
so whatever my distance is, I'll do it that.
Consider that same platform in 5.56 versus 308, and you're looking at just a completely different ballgame.
It's a whole paradigm shift.
Yep.
So we can fast forward to today's market, or not the market, but our environment, our society. Right. You have crazies going on at times, and you have law enforcement that doing different things. And I think this is a viable option in stopping vehicles too, and stopping those threats immediately before they go on minute after minute, 5 minutes after 5 minutes. You need to.
Yeah, we are the first responders, the people getting shot at.
Well, I don't want to go down those roads, but I just think what we created gives law enforcement and military a whole new option, a whole paradigm shift. This is something I cut metal. I can create whatever, but people that use them, I understand how they use it, but until they use it and put it into what they do, then they can see the benefits of that. I think there's a lot more benefit of having that type of cartridge compared to a 5.56 or even a 9mm, say. That right there is your urban platform, period.
I think it's also a great hog hunter.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably going to be a huge market.
To that one.
Yeah. I think a huge market for that would be hog hunting. Hey, we got hogs out here in Arizona.
Well, the javelina, but
it's still the recoil on that thing. It's amazing. Yeah. I have when the Celtic came out with the RFB 308.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever shot one before. It's not a fun gun to shoot. The recoil on that on the bullpup. Yeah. It's smaller, it's heavier, but it's got a lot more recoil.
And that's got a longer barrel too.
It's that's a rifle.
I mean,
is it a 20-inch or 16?
There's always ways to mitigate some things, but I don't. We focus on our guns trying to be pleasant to shoot, trying to be to make it a pleasant experience. You don't want to beat the hell out of the customer that's shooting it. When you can go out and shoot 308, a 500-round case, just say, and come back the next day and do the same thing, now we're talking, guys. Now we're talking, because you're not sore, because it's not beating you up. You don't have an operating system that's just pounding the hell out of you. There's dynamics in that platform through a lot of testing and engineering that have led us to where we're going. And who knows, the future keeps holding new things too. You know, because the revolution, I think we named it appropriately. Hey, I'm patriotic. I love this country. I love freedom. I'm always saying thank you to our veterans and even the law enforcement and, you know, public safety people in general. Thank you for your service, because, hey, law enforcement's our local people that protect our neighborhoods and our families, and our soldiers are doing that, you know, for our country and abroad too. So I don't like putting anyone against each other or whatever, but at the end of the day, you know, I think we're doing the right things. We're going in the right direction. The revolution was named appropriately because I think it was truly revolutionary in what we achieved. You know, because I don't think anyone would have, they may have thought about it, but they would have said, there ain't no way. And there's a problem right there. Why? Why not? So if we could draw it in CAD and it looks like there's a possibility, well, why not build it and see, you know, test it safely and see what we get? Oh, damn, we had some failures. But wait a second. Those failures were this area and that area. What can we do to try to improve those areas? You know, engineering and process engineering, how you look at different things. And all of a sudden, you slowly start going through this little item by item, and you come across ways of improving it. You know, the roller cam pin, the E-square, the heat sink barrel, that those different types of features are in there. But still, you got metallurgy. You know, I often laugh when I see people say, you know, you use S7 steel. S7 is really strong. Really, really strong steel compared to like Carpenter 158. There's just one problem. Have any of you guys ever hunted in maybe 0 temperature?
No.
Or minus? I have. Or where maybe it's like 2 degrees outside and you got a wind chill factor, it gets it to -8, -12 degrees. It's freaking cold. So S7 has a funny way of being like the Titanic. I've done tests at METL. It's a metallurgist lab up by our factory about 4.5 miles away. They do a thing called the Sharpie test. Well, so when they created the Titanic, it was already a ship of death. They just didn't realize it, choosing the wrong metal. If they had just stayed in the warm waters like the Caribbean, it would have sailed for a long time. When they went to that cold water, the metal transition, and all it needed was an impact, and it got a crack, and the crack kept running, and they could never stop it. You couldn't plug it. It was done. It was going down. Same thing with S7. With testing, you do military mil spec is room temperature -40. You do tests at those things. This Sharpie test shown that S7 transitions and it fatigues. That's why I don't build triggers with S7. I don't want my hammer. And as a tool and die maker, S7's an impact resistant material. That was my first choice, was to go with S7. But I learned real quick not to, because we did testing from a metallurgist lab. Why? Because that's needed data that you should do instead of arbitrarily saying. Like, you've seen people going around seeing, I'm sure you guys probably heard, Carpenter 158's your standard bolt material, right? The mil-spec bolt material. It was made from P20 metal, and they added a little bit of more alloy and got Carpenter, the mill house, and got a Eugene Stoner to spec in on the prints, and that's how it got so famous. But at one time, we had a 52-week lead time from the steel mill. So you can add 3 months for processing to make it a bolt. 15 months later, I may have a bolt to put in a gun. Stay a year and a half. I'm out of business.
Yeah.
So I had to find an alternative. So I did testing. I didn't put an S7 bolt in there. I knew better from testing the trigger. But I went to 9310. I used that in aerospace and gear houses for APUs, and it was a good material. I did testing on it. METL again, right? Metallurgical slab. Unequivocally, 9310 is superior to Carpenter 158 by about 6%. To me, car guy, right? Car buff. You know, you can have an AC Delco oil filter, or you can have a Fram oil filter. That's what that reminds me of. Carpenter 158, 9310. It's like a crossover, right? For the brands. Yes, it's about 6% better in strength. Or you can have what's in the Revolution, and it's night and day because we're literally about twice the strength, and the other part is very ductile. Extreme ductility, because you got to not only be able to take an impact, but you got to absorb that impact without being brittle and snap. So I could tell you with the testing we've done, the materials that are used in there are really strong. And we pay a lot more money for those items, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, same material for a bolt was $1, let's just say. And if I can make, and it's $1 for the AR-10, but if I spent $20 for that same bolt, I'm being kind of stupid right now, but if I spent $20 and I had an AR-15 bolt that made my 308 shooting the AR-10, would it be worth that $20 for that material?
You can have to have it because it would fail if it were the AR-15.
Bingo,
material.
guys. But this industry as a whole, and it's not just this industry, in business as a whole, when you look at bill of materials of every product, people, when you start saying, well, this cost went up like this, we can't have that. And that's when you need to say, wait a minute, guys, time out. I know you're a buyer or you're this or you're that. At the end of the day, what's the process? Because everything's time. And if I can do something that's never been achieved before and pay more money for that bolt or barrel extension or whatever and make it do something it could never achieve prior to now, wouldn't it be worth trying it and seeing where it goes? And it makes sense, doesn't it, when you put it in that? But a lot of guys don't. Like, we put jam nuts, you know, especially on brakes, right? Because you got to time them in. Well, if you sit there with a crush washer, you'll be switching them out, and the guy gets frustrated. After 5 minutes screwing around, the guy just grabs the crescent wrench and he just you know, he gorillas it in. You know, he just forces it in. And any gun that's forced, if you have something that's under stress, it's not a good thing. So that's why we always put a jam nut. Why do I put a jam nut in? Because it takes us like 30 seconds to mount the muzzle device all day long. I pay 10 times more than the crush washer, but who cares? Because I know my process, and I know that I'm not overstressing the gun. Whether you do it, or myself, it doesn't matter. We lock it in, boom, we're done. It's quick, fast, and consistent. Time is money. Whether you're paying more money for that part, but what's my result?
Right.
Do I have someone sitting there changing washers and pissing away 5 minutes of time? Or do I just thread that on and pay a little more and I'm done in 30 seconds? Mounting our rail system, 2 minutes. I tested other brands, big names, you know, that make rails, that are known for making really good rails. I tried their rails. I mounted it in 20 minutes. I know I could easily cut it down to 15. So how many can I get in an hour if I did one every 15 minutes? And how many with our design can I get done in 1 hour if it takes 2 minutes to install? So how many people does it take to keep up? And how many workbenches do you need? See, it's all processing. Time, labor, all that. So it all adds up at the end of the day. It's all a cost, right? So if I paid more money up here, my engineering such where I can assemble quicker, faster, and get it through testing and cleaned and packaged, then what does it matter if I paid more here if this ends saving me time and money here? and I got a leaner, meaner fighting machine. I mean, a leaner, meaner factory, able to deliver more product more efficiently than Me Too stuff that's on the market.
And that's all from your aerospace process engineering.
Yeah, but it's
background.
also here too because
Yeah.
there's passion.
Right.
You know, what do you want to be known for? Making a turd or making a quality product? Do you want to be known for just whatever? I want to be known that I seen in aerospace when I was there through the 90s when this industry got hit. Air Phoenix is an aerospace hub. And in the 80s and before that, it was a friggin' powerhouse. It was the largest employer in the state. No more. It's been decimated because we opened the floodgates and outsourced everything out of the country. And for us, I put on our print something. We must buy U.S. steels only. All aluminums and steels have to be by U.S. steel mills. Period. It's on our print. We get material certs that says that. All our screws or pins or springs have to be made in U.S. factories by U.S. owned and operated people. Furniture, platings, heat treats, vendors that I'm doing, the same thing. I specify they have to be U.S. owned and operated factories. Why? Because it's my little way of giving back to a country that gave me the freedoms, because the veterans, right, that fought for those freedoms, and our forefathers that were pretty intelligent men that wrote that Constitution, you know, and giving us those rights. It's my little way, insignificant way, of giving a little bit back to the country by providing a truly 100% American-made product that's engineered here, that's built here by American employees, that's made with all materials and outsourced parts, or not outsourced, but, you know, furniture, painting, heat treats, and stuff like that, of people and vendors. And you know what's funny? I'm still using those heat treaters and platers that I used in aerospace since the 80s.
You kept those guys in business.
Well,
Your piece.
or
of
they
it.
helped me too,
Yeah.
as a young business starting,
Right.
and said, "Hey, Frank, what are you doing?"
Right.
"Oh, you're doing it? Hey, yeah, bring it here. We'll take care of you." They'll do the work. Now, I didn't get better pricing. I in fact paid a more inflated pricing because they were selling to Boeing and Honeywell and stuff like that. You know, Raytheon, General Dynamics, you know. That's why these people are serious. They have NADCAP certifications. They have serious ISO certification. We're ISO certified factory too. But you do those things because those processes are watched. So there's something else we do in our guns that, and I'm sorry I'm talking too long here,
No,
you're
that's
fine.
why you're here.
Yeah.
but
We're all ready for it.
and sales in the past didn't really pay much attention to it. But if you go through the firearm, so when you fly in an aircraft, I'll start with this. When you fly in an aircraft, you all need to know this. Every single part in an aircraft has a manufacture date with a vendor code in there. Every single part. I don't care what that part is, and Boeing didn't build every single part. They have a tremendous lot of vendors, and they go in there. So in order to control who did what was built, because we could all be doing turbine vanes that go in the turbine engine. Well, what if I ship garbage and they pull us all into a room blaming each one of us and it was me? Well, they got to be able to identify those things. So we have date codes. They call them date codes. Well, in a date code, you have a vendor code too. It would be separate. So at Patriot Ordnance Factory, we adhere the same way because that's the world I came from. So there's a lot of key components that have a date code, but within the date code, we have vendor codes.
So if a part fails, you'll know which vendor it was.
Whether it was POF, our factory in-house, or a vendor we used, we know who did what.
There's accountability for every piece in the gun.
And that helps us with our ISO. So I could tell you, I could start from the muzzle end. I could tell you the gas plug on that piston plug. regulated gas plug there has a date code. On there, there's a vendor code, and our date code's how we do it. We have an identifier so we know who the vendor is, whether we did it internally or you did it for us. On the barrel, we don't have rifling machines, so we go to a rifling company that may rifle barrels. They could do it turnkey for us, but we don't do that right now. We'll turn them, or we may use someone to turn the barrels too. So I know who rifled the blank. You two could have been rifling companies that rifled blanks for us, and we could have been the two companies that turned it into a barrel. So our date codes on our barrel, I know who rifled it and when it turned into a barrel. The gas block has a date code. We also serialize it to the barrel. The heat sink barrel nut has a date code. The rail system has a date code. The upper receiver has a date code. The lower receiver, I know from the serialization, I know what that is. The drop-in trigger has a date code. The buffer tube has a date code. Oh, wait, the ambi charging handle has a date code. I just told you a lot of key components of that build that we know each and every part of traceability of that. That's powerful when you have that knowledge. And when you have service and returns, you can track those things and understand what's happened, where it could be an engineering issue that we did something wrong, or could it be how a training issue, how people are using it. I'll give you an example with our software. And we created that too. We started a software company because of a need. I'll go there in a minute. We used to shoot our guns, wipe them down, box them, ship them. Well, they could sit on a shelf after going to distribution, right? They could be on a shelf. The gun could be sitting around for a year, literally, before it, because who knows in the warehouse if they kept stacking stuff on top of it and it never got to the top, right? And it kept getting bypassed, and finally it ships a year later, and then you guys get it here and try to sell it at a store. We were noticing we were getting returns, and some of these returns were just because the gun needed to be cleaned and lubed. It's like a new engine when you're breaking them in like an engine. When I rebuilt it, you run it for 20 minutes, you put the heavy lube on the cam, and you're breaking in the cam and trying to get the motor going. Same thing with this mechanical item. You got an action that's cycling back and forth, it's got plating on it, heat treats, you're trying to get that metal working. At a factory, you're doing some test firing, but you're not sitting there running hundreds of rounds through the platform. You'd have a used gun on your hands. So you do enough to make sure it cycles and functions right, it holds the bolt open, it's functioning properly, you package it. Well, we were having issues where, hey, if all they had to do was just clean it, lube it, and then shot it. But a lot of people, like me, grab a new toy, I'm loading ammo in it, I want to shoot the damn thing, right? It was like, well, that was a simple thing to fix. Since we have traceability and tracking, it was like, hey guys, we have to change our process. Not only do we need to wipe it down and make it good, I want the gun cleaned, I want it well oiled, and I want it packaged. I know we just shot it, I don't care. I want it gone through, clean, lubed, and packaged. Boy, all those issues went away.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. But like I said earlier, knowledge is power. So we created a software called APB 360. I did that to protect us from ATF. So we tried using a logbook with Excel, and it doesn't work. So why do we create stuff? It's out of necessity most of the time, right? So APB 360 was just to protect us, keep our logbooks sound, have an electronic logbook, and keep us safe from ATF when they come and do their audits. Because yes, America, we are highly audited. The federal government checks on everything we do. So, and by the way, America, you need to understand that 11% of our gross sales goes for conservation. So if we sell something for $1, 11 cents goes to the Treasury Department for conservation. So if you want to talk about an industry being green, the firearms industry's it. The ammunition industry's it. Oh, wait, even the fishing industry that makes stuff for fishing, they also contribute. So if anyone's helping the environment, it sure in the hell is the firearms industry. We're towing the weight. And I also recycle all our metals, have LED lighting in our new factory. Oh, wait, we generate our own solar. So about 68% of our power at our new factory is all solar. Literally. I'm amazed. I didn't know if it would produce as good as it is. And we're 100% air conditioned. And we're in the desert. So we're in the perfect place for solar, obviously. Right. We're getting real good benefit from it. But it just, you look at these platforms, it is what it is.
It's just not a gun, guys.
No.
You take a look at the process.
The software to protect us from ATF, it works, and we couldn't use Excel. And it got to the point where we do processes. So when someone builds the gun, they log in. They scan in, they take a picture of that lower. I know date and time, and I can turn on Google Map for the GPS coordinate. I know where that lower was made. I know who built that upper. I know when the firearm was test fired. I know who cleaned it, mounted the rail system, a muzzle device. I know who packaged it. And our logbook, we can send you a PDF before you receive the guns of what you're supposed to be receiving, because we got a picture of the receiver with all the nomenclature for ATF. So there's no question as to what we sold, and a picture of the whole entire firearm with everything that's packaged. So when people say, well, this gun was scratched, well, we got pictures to show a different story. Or I didn't receive a magazine. Well, it was there in the package when it shipped. So somehow that magazine must have squeaked out of the box somewhere. But so it wasn't at our factory.
So this is not industry standard. This is something that you do specific at the POF.
And the best part of it, it's worked, and it helps us with our ISO certification. We had an audit like 6 months ago, and they said, whatever you do, do not get rid of APB 360, because we can see what you're telling us as processes. We see what your processes are. ATF did an audit of us like 3 months ago. They did a full-blown audit. 3 people came in with badges. They expected to be there over a week. They were there for a day and 5 hours. The first day, at the end of the first day, they sent 1 person home. The second day, 5 hours later, we went through our review. 0 issues, 0 problems. And they were using iPads on the floor. Checking our audit. Our software was efficient and effective, and it worked for that.
So that's another example of upfront costs that save you down the road.
But you have to believe in something to try to do it. If you don't do it, you'll never know. So we created something that helps. And the funniest part, it's got a CRM system. We know every single FFL license by type in the country. We can look in Google Maps, see if they're working out of their home or have a storefront, like here, have a retail facility, or if they're a factory. That part of it's getting really interesting. That software company is pretty impressive to me, because what did I say earlier? Veterans, thank you, and even public service. You know, thank you for your service. It's Veterans Day. But thank them, of course, for this day more than anything. But we're helping public safety with our software. We have police departments and sheriff's office using our software.
So wait, this is the software you developed for your own company's use that is now being applied in other fields?
Yes.
Well, I didn't know. See,
other manufacturing companies are using our software, like in our industry. Okay. And we have police departments, not just in Arizona, and the sheriff's office. We even have Fish and Game using our...
It just clicked with me that you just sold software too. You know, that software is not only being used in your company, but it's also an entity of itself, as far as it's its own
thing. The same thing.
Yeah.
So
they're just taking the software and applying it to whatever whatever
Because
application
it's the
they
same
have.
thing. It's processes, right?
Right.
What makes us any different than police departments and manufacturing? Even here, you all have processes of how you do and accomplish your work. If you can reduce it with steps, if you can have everyone know the process so they don't have to go hunt down Byron all day long for an answer because they all have the answers and know where everything's at, we follow a process, it gets more streamlined. It's faster, efficient, quicker, lowers the cost, lowers operating costs. Same thing, you think public safety? We're talking our tax dollars there, guys. Could you imagine if we could save time? That's a huge amount of money, time, that we pay in taxes, like overtime. What if our processors work so efficiently it reduces all their overtime to nothing?
Have you tried this with DMV?
I can't solve all the world's problems. No, but I mean, what's really cool is just no different than the gun.
Right. So, you know, the thing
It's
that...
problem solving, and we found
see, that's
another
the funny-
opportunity of how we could do something and apply it.
This is one of the goals I had going to this evening. It's like, we know what the gun is. And anybody out there is looking at the gun. They can go on YouTube, they can go on the internet, and they can pull it up and find out what the gun is and find out the specs and all that good stuff.
You want to know what's really cool about that? Because it kind of ties in with Veterans Day.
Yeah.
So, in 2010, I was blessed for this honor. I did a 2-year stint. I was an honorary vice commander at Luke Air Force Base. So, I was shadowing the second in command of the whole base, and he overseen the 56th Air Wing. And I got to meet Adam Lyons. Adam Lyons is a friend, and he was an honorary commander too, with Fighter Country, that we were both members of. And I got to know, well, Adam's the Matrix. He knows how to write code. But he loves the firearms industry, and every time he dabbled in it, people would always screw him over. Well, we were both friends, and it's like, hey, I have a need here. You know how to do this. Let's work together. So it all morphed. Think about this. It all morphed from trying to get software to keep our logbooks to protect us from ATF shutting us down. Because just think about this. You put your passion, your life's blood, sweat, tears into a business, and they pull your license for whatever reason, and you're done. It's over. That thought kind of horrifies me. So I wanted a software that was efficient, that we had traceability of everything. So I can track everything from, I have a demand of a purchase order, we have an order being built, here's the thing, we ship, I have a signed receipt, I have it all logged, I can show proof. And before we even ship with our shipper to an FFL, we ping ATF to see if the license is still good. Even though I may have a signed copy, which we do, we still ping, and then from their answer, we encrypt it and keep that data. So if they ever come back to us and say, why did you ship this gun? Their license is no good. We're going to go, hello, here's ATF right there. See, look, on this date and time, you said it was okay.
Yeah.
Their license was good. So... And I don't know about you, Byron, but we've had several stuff with NFA items. Say it could be an SBR. It seems like the NFA side is always an issue. Oh, well, you have a gun that we don't have it in the registry, or whatever. It's like, well, right here, this document that you signed right there says this is approved. Oh, well, can we have a copy of it?
Yeah.
What would happen to us if we said that to them?
Exactly.
Right.
We would be out of business. They would pull our license. First, they would probably fine us, but if it was really bad, we would be done. And that's what horrifies me. All that hard work and building from a garage and trying to build something, and now we're at a factory that we built from the ground up. And the thought of some, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But people, well, okay, I will go there. Thought of some idiots that ran Fast and Furious at ATF.
Yes, sir.
Running guns into Mexico, and that ATF should be shut down for that act in itself. Because if I did one item that way, I'd be not only in prison, arrested and in prison, my company would not exist. And those employees, those American workers would be on the street without jobs. So I don't even know how in the hell ATF still gets to walk around and exist, because they should just hand it up. Damn it. Sorry.
That's okay.
That's
Don't break
me
your
being
stride.
too passionate.
Don't break stride. You're doing great.
They should hand it off to FBI, since they do the background checks, and shut down ATF. And there's plenty of good people in ATF. Roll them into the FBI. We don't need that overlap. We send money to the Treasury, and the FBI is doing the background checks. Send the good people of ATF, those good workers that actually care, send them, make them part of ATF, and do background checks and all that, and enforcing, the gun laws that we have to abide by. Because until ATF, if there's been arrest and people going through due process of an actual trial for a criminal acts that they've done, then I would have trust in ATF. And right now I don't. And I say it to them every time they come, and I'm not going to stop talking about that. Eric Holder, under Obama, is responsible for this.
You must be reading my blog. But rolling back to the thing that... Let's get back to the thing that was...
Sorry.
No, that needed to be said. But for folks that may not be following it, you got the software written from a guy that you met while you were an honorary commander on Veterans Day.
Yeah, we're partners now.
Right.
So we were partners in helping the men and women. Mm-hmm. That was the goal of Fighter Country. Right. And helping their families, especially if they're deployed, to do stuff with their families and their children. And Fighter Country is still a good organization today. And I was blessed and honored to be part of that service, but I got to meet Adam Lyons, and he's a partner in the software company, because he helped create it, and it was like, hey, why don't we do this as a business? There's no reason why we can't grow this. And we were thinking about selling it, dealing with just the gun stuff. And ATF, Adam sits on a technology committee with them.
That's
literally, because they let the industry
Right.
be involved. So he's in the committee, and they wouldn't allow us to do cloud, because it's a cloud-based software that's highly encrypted. They wouldn't allow it. He left the SHOT Show. We were showing it at SHOT Show for people of interest. And it's just been kind of word of mouth. We're not out there this big marketing campaign. We're not a stock-held corporation. We just word of mouth. We've grown with people in the industry using it, and now law enforcement.
It began life as a way to track your components and your vendors and your process.
Yes.
And it turns into a process that can be used by literally any business.
Just think about this. So I'm law enforcement. I buy a lot of equipment, right? It could be anything. I have multiple locations for inventory. Okay. Then eventually we're officers. All four of us sitting here. We get equipment issued to us, right? Whatever it may be. And it doesn't have to be just firearms. It could be whatever they're issuing, handcuffs, even training, right? So where's all this assets that they purchased? Where is all this stuff? Radios. I mean, some of these radios are as much as $8,000, guys. So taxpayers pay. Just think a cartel member would love to have a radio and break that encryption and hear what's going on, right?
Right.
Think about that. I'm living in today's world, aren't I?
Sure you are.
So you issue all these things, plus you got training. We all have skill set. Each one of us has skill set. Law enforcement, they have repetitive training they have to go through, or updated training, and it's got to be refreshed, like quals, with shooting quals. They got to re-qualify every year. They got to go through this. Well, can you imagine having a software that tracks all that, tracks what's in inventory, what's been issued to individuals, and tracks all the training of your whole team, So you know where all your assets, because humans are assets, like products are assets, right?
Right.
And then say I have body armor and it's going to expire because they have products that expire, have expiration dates. You get a text sent to you, and your sergeant that you report to gets a text saying, hey, Frank, you need to come in and get refitted for a body armor because you're going to expire in 3 months. And say the process is like 3 months to get your new thing. So you're never reactive after a situation. And that's the problem I've seen with law enforcement. Really, really good people across the board, but a lot of reactiveness. And it may be politics that do it. I don't know what's the cause, but it seems like something serious has to happen before someone gets off their ass and does something. So being proactive is a lot better. So I'm proud of this one. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Guess what software they're using?
Oh, awesome.
APB 360, buddy. That's a big home run for a little company that's got a bunch of dreamers with can-do attitudes. So that's the greatness of America. If you dream stuff and you follow through with those dreams and you have a positive can-do attitude, you just may be able to achieve stuff. Now, I can't go to the moon, guys. That ain't going to happen. Plus, I ain't being locked up in a spaceship. This little capsule on a rocket flying there. Those are ballsy men and women.
Yep.
I mean, they're a lot braver than me. But I commend them. But you know what? Think about it. I grew up in 1969 watching that on a black and white TV as a kid, as an American. And as a kid growing up, seeing the Apollo take off and then one step for mankind, right? Stepping on the moon. That was such an inspirational thing for my generation, seeing that as a kid and going, oh my God, we're on the moon. What can't we do in this country called America, the USA? That's pretty amazing when people work together. I mean, it just blew my mind away as a kid. My wife and I just had this conversation. It was kind of funny. You know, we grew up, I think today's punishment for kids, take off their cell phone, computers, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Turn everything off and make them go outside and play till the sun's coming down and it's time for dinner. That's your punishment. No electronics. Go outside and play and say hi to someone. Go imagine. Grab a stick and imagine something. Go play with a made-up thing. Get your mind active and working. You know? But, you know, growing up and not having phones other than a rotary phone. You know when you say dial 911? Who's dialing 911 today? Nobody, but everyone says dial 911. Why? Because that's the way it was when it first started. Going from that to a cell phone, then to a computer, then to an internet, and to, you know, Facebook, Instagram, you know, Twitter, all these crazy things. I mean, we just keep compounding. It was sometimes it was nice not getting the news right away, or getting every little detail of every little thing everywhere.
Absolutely.
My kids freak out every time the internet goes down, the Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah,
It's horrible.
you got to break them out. Go
Yeah,
make them
true.
play. Hey, here's a ball. Go kick. Here, you know what? Here's a can. Go kick this can around. Do something with a can. Figure it out.
So what is next? What's the next step in the revolution?
Oh, you want to go to 2020?
Good time.
You want to go forward?
Should we segue with the pocket dump?
Yes, sir. We should.
Frank, we have a thing here we call the pocket dump, where it's basically started out to see what everybody's everyday carry was.
Oh, jeez.
So
What was that show I was just watching? Samuel Jackson was just dumping a bunch of stuff. Geez, that many? Of course. I feel inadequate today. Because I'm going to see what you guys start piling out here. But I think
it's not for us. It's not for us. It's just for guests.
Oh, well, shit! I wanted to trump you guys.
Nobody cares what we're carrying.
Okay, let's see. Well, oh, I got my POF wallet. Let's see. I have something else here. Oh, there's a little 380 pistol. That's a little Ruger. It's a Arizona. It's an Arizona one, right?
Yes.
That's the wallet
But-
you give robbers, right?
But I have something else here. Wait,
Hey, what
let
do
me
you
hold
carry?
on. This one's going to be a little bit take it out, but this is for the future, for 2020. Oh yeah, Rogue. What's Rogue? 5.6 pounds of badassery. This is all 308, baby. This is the second release, if you want to say, of the new doorway. So the Revolution started it all. Rogue is the second one coming in. This is the pistol version. It's a DI, right? And ambidextrous charging handle on this. But Rogue is going to be more to the basics. So what are we trying to do at Rogue here? I have features added to this, but I look at the Revolution being the Escalade, the fully loaded Escalade. I look at Rogue being the Tahoe. It has the same horsepower and punch without all the amenities. But what's cool about Rogue, you can add the features on, like hand stops, because this is my... Damn, I'm really good at doing that. Sorry, guys. But we have hand stops we make. We even put the regulated gas block. We have the ambi charging handle. So these are features we'll add. So the Rogue's going to be a base model gun. The MSRP is $17.99, where the Revolutions are like $25, $100. We're bringing the price down. So the pistol version is this, but the carbine is really impressive. So a 16.5-inch carbine of the Rogue Black, it'll be black anodized, is 5.9 pounds, $17.99 MSRP. You tell me in the world where you're going to find anything lighter for 308 carbine. 5.9 pounds and change. And guys, you can pass this around. I mean, that's 308 all day.
You
That's
dropped the
5.6
weight by
pounds.
going to DI on this one.
Yeah.
And size-wise, I mean, it's really kind of comparable with some of the pistol caliber
Yes.
carbines out there. I mean, it's
12.5-inch barrel, mid-length gas block.
If you're looking at that, you're not
Mid-length
going to know
rail.
that's a 308 unless I told you it was 308. And when I'm handling this, this is similar to what happened when I handled this gun. The Revolution at the range. I messed around with it, but we didn't have a full mag in it until I went up to shoot it.
Yeah.
So I grabbed the thing, and I'm just like, wow, this is weird because I have like I told you earlier, I have a PTR 91 PDW pistol version, and that thing is heavy, and this is ridiculous. It doesn't even seem like, I mean, literally, it seems like it's a mock-up and not a real gun.
Yeah, so that's what the future
Exactly,
holds.
that's what I was thinking right now. It doesn't
2020 is going to be a wonderful year. A Revolution and now Rogue.
definitely got to.
And you're right, we are visual. That's a good-looking gun.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the problems
Yes.
with when we have efficient guns that work that don't look good.
Yeah.
I won't buy them.
So, but doesn't it look, like you said, an AR-15? So we did a demo in LA with the police department there. They had a show there. We had a gun like that at the line. The Revolution was there, the DI version. We were shooting 5.56 on the left side of the table, and the right side of the table was the Revolution, DI version. They were both DIs because we were trying to sell to law enforcement. SWAT teams a lot of times will buy the piston guns, but normal guns across the board most of the time are DI. I would say 8 out of 10 people walked up, grabbed the 223 mag, and shoved it in the mag hole. They thought this because it's memory skill, guys, right? You grab it. They're putting it in, getting ready to do shooting down range. They're focused down range. It's all memory skill. And it was like, hey, there's something wrong with your gun. Well, hold on there. Look at the magazine. Look at the mag well. You're shooting a 308. No, it's not. Yes, it is. That's a 308. Grab the other mag. It was like, oh, shit. So they would bear down on it the first round, go to shoot, and then take the shot, look back at you, stand up normal, and just start shooting. So for 2020, I think we're going to do good. We have another product called the Minuteman and another surprise that'll be really the show coming out for 2020 at the SHOT Show. We're doing a build-up to it. So I won't talk about that here, but we're going to have 3 cool things. I think Byron got a little sneak peek. But
Must be nice.
But he said he would be nice and keep it amongst us.
Nope, zip-lipped, man.
He'd be amongst us for now. But the Rogue, we definitely talking about that. The Minuteman's another cool item that we have coming out. But I would be blessed if we put in for the Industry Choice Awards. I can't see why I wouldn't submit Rogue, because it's a whole nother gun. Right. As rifle, submit for Rifle of the Year with the Industry Choice Awards. Could we have an opportunity to get Rifle of the Year
4 years
again? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Third time in a row, I was kind of embarrassed.
This is a hat trick, man.
No, because what's cool about that one, it's more of your peers.
Right.
There's people that work in the industry in all different trades, whether they work in a store, distributor, law enforcement, a military guy, trainers, competition shooters. They're just from all aspects. They don't write their names. They have a series of questions. They go through each firearm or accessories, and then that's one day. The next day, they actually go shoot. So I don't know how the NRA does their thing. I heard there's like 7 people. I don't even know what they do. I have no clue. But at least this is an open process, and it's not about how much money you spent in marketing or whatever. It's about the merit of the widget. Because what's cool is the Industry Choice Awards, we actually go shoot a competition. You bring nothing. You go to this event. Everything that's been turned in to shoot, for testing, all the products that were turned in for testing, we compete with them in like a little 3-gun match, because there's pistols, rifles, shotguns. And it's kind of cool. Andy Horner, David Power, they set up some stages, and you do a couple of days of shooting, and then we have the dinner where the award ceremony's there. We actually, one year, our little team with my son and 2 other friends, we actually got #1 for the team. We won the shoot. And that's getting a little more difficult because some of these companies are starting to bring their shooting team in now. Like the real competitors, where a lot of companies just bring their engineers or salespeople and stuff like that, which is kind of cool because then you get to meet all the other people at the other companies, not just the shooters that
true
compete.
Colleagues.
Yeah. So you get the BS with them, talk about all the good things, all the bad things, headaches within your own organizations, headaches within theirs. Kind of funny because the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence like everyone may want to think.
Yeah.
It's the same shit on both sides of the fence. But it's kind of cool having that camaraderie. Even if your competitor's on the field, it's the one time when you get to be friends amongst yourself and just having fun. And it's kind of cool when people are there and competing companies, and some of them are really big, like the biggest companies in the industry, and they pat you on the back and say, job well done, you deserve it. When you see stuff, but, so I believe we have something that's a contender, unequivocally. I don't know where you're going to find a 16-inch 308
You just
carbine.
You dropped it to 5.9 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's game over right there.
They also look at pricing and stuff like that too. Those are all considerations, but The Revolution was a lot more money than that.
Well, I'll tell you, competitors run about 8.3 pounds with a 16-inch carbine. That's what I've seen. It's about 8.3 pounds as the lightest I've seen. That's an optics-only model, without sights or any rails or anything.
And just wait when you start seeing, like, this SHOT Show. Are you going?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Little birdie told me that True Velocity, they're a company of innovation and patents and technologies of plastic case ammo, like rifle cartridges, that they're going to have a display at SHOT Show, maybe even be shooting. And I'm hoping for 2020, we may be able to start purchasing plastic case ammo. So that doesn't mean anything, but I've shot it for a couple years now with some demo shoots with SOCOM, and I've seen it work in miniguns and belt feds, and that Revolution shot the shit out of it in 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor. But besides that, you can take 30% of the weight away in that magazine. Right. You're going to get a bigger impact of weight savings with 7.62 by 51 308 compared to the 5.56.
Right.
It's just a smaller.
So you're just talking about polymer casings.
Yeah, so you have that lightweight gun, you put a lightweight optic on it. You know, say you got that 16-inch gun you're setting up for hunting. 308, you can go after any North American game, all the way up to the grizzly bear. You can go.
Right. Especially with 20 rounds behind you.
You're damn right, buddy. You're damn right. So you have that. You put, I don't know, I've seen some scopes like the NX8 Night Force, the 1-8, or I like the VX6 Leopold. They're both 17 ounces. You get some Aero mounts. They make some really lightweight mounts, and that's only like 3.5 ounces. I mean, you're going to have a 16-inch gun with a scope that's probably right around 7.2 pounds.
That's ridiculous.
With no ammo. And you're running complete with optics and mount on it. You got a complete weapon system. All you need is fuel to run it, right? You throw the mag in and you're going. That's pretty serious. That's where all of a sudden there's a paradigm shift. Well, wait a second. What did Patriot Ordnance Factory do? What do you mean they made an AR-15 shoot 308? Yeah, when you start putting the right optic, the right mount on that Rogue that's 5.9 pounds and change, and you have, you know, with an optic that's like 7.2 pounds, now we're talking, guys. Now we're talking some serious hunting gun. Because how many bolt guns are less than 6 pounds? No, I mean, seriously, how many? There are some.
Not many.
And then what are the cost of those?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But even if you don't hunt, that's a great camp gun if you're out in the wilderness.
Yeah, how about it's a great everything gun? Yeah. Competition, pleasure shooting, fun shooting, training shooting.
Truck gun.
I think what needs... Yeah, that's true. I like truck gun. I kind of favor truck guns. I like trucks and Jeeps, but...
So
always makes me smile with truck gun.
Yeah,
You're damn right, buddy.
At 5.9 pounds, is there room to go further than that, or?
Oh, there always is. No, you know why there is? Because everything we're doing is still all basic stuff. There's no isms. There's no titaniums. There's no magnesiums. There's no lithiums. There's no even carbon fiber. This is your standard type of materials other than the proprietary materials that we needed for the strength. It's all the standard materials. I mean, going back to the Rogue and the optics, I mean, you got some really cool optics behind you there. Some of them are meant for those guys that lay on their bellies, you know. I've shot with a 2 to 8 power Leopold out to 920 yards and hitting a gong with a 14.5 inch 308. So, yes, if you want to put it on paper and try to get the tightest of groups, the magnification helps you a lot. If I'm talking about making a hit in an animal, hey, if I can hit within my fist, I'm good to go. You know? And And if you're talking hitting plates, you don't need a whole bunch of magnification. A 1 to 6, a 1 to 8 power, you're there. I mean, Addaball, I'll bring this up, they have a 1 to 10 now. They're an optic company, a young company that's here in Arizona. I'm intrigued with that one. Who knows where that goes, but at that point, you don't need anything else. A 10 power scope on a 16-inch 308, even if it was 6.5 Creedmoor. Can we take more weight out of it? You're damn right. What if I did like the Scar? What if I made a plastic lower? Wow, I wonder how much weight I could drop out of it. What if I used carbon fiber or used titanium or, you know, all these exotics? The problem is when you start doing all those things, the cost starts going up. Rogue was to do a couple things. Another shock therapy to the industry and saying, oh shit, what did PLF do now? How in the hell did they get it down there to that weight? Get a simplistic, basic gun that's a lot lower in cost to try to get more consumers into it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I will never be the $5.99 AR-15 gun.
Right.
I'm sorry. I can't do that here, made with the insurance policies, the taxes, and the wages of the American people. I cannot do that, you know?
Well, and that's, I don't think that most consumers that really are interested in buying guns are buying guns just for the cost. I mean, there is a budget price level. There's a value in a gun. For me, it's about value. It's not about the actual price. If I have to wait 6, 8, 12 months to save enough money to buy the gun I want because I perceive the value and I see the value in it, I'll do it.
Yes.
You know, especially if it's made 100% America. I'm not going to buy a gun because that's, you know, well, I'm going to buy it because it's $600. I want to buy it because it's $300. Yeah, I did a review on a gun that was a $200 handgun. I didn't buy that gun because it was $200. I bought the gun because I saw the value in the $200 that was in the gun.
So sometimes it's not always about the price. It's the value and what's there. So the thing that bothers me is when I see ARs selling like that and you go buy a pistol. Pistols, like, the AR is 4 times the size of a pistol.
Right.
And materials and everything. How in the hell is that pistol selling for more money than that AR? There's no way. It's because someone way overbuilt something or got them somewhere from someplace, who knows. You know,
Yep.
I hate saying this, but slavery's still alive today.
Yeah.
It's still alive today. Oh, wait, you could probably contest to that one,
Yeah.
couldn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's when you look at
You got people that are working and having to work because they're being forced.
they had to eat, you know, and that what I was getting at when I was talking about when I look at a gun, an AR, we talked about it during the video, Joe and I doing the review, is I can't reproduce your gun using other parts and get the same value. You can do that with a lot of ARs. You build a lot of, and when we say build, I don't mean build. I'm talking about assembling guns from parts. I'm not a builder. But you could go out and part out used parts that are quality and put together a really nice AR-15 platform for what a competing company's selling for $1,500, for example, right? Well, I can do that gun for about $700, $800 by shopping wisely, waiting for sales and stuff. Can't do that with a Revolution.
No.
And there's a reason you can't. There's a reason you can't.
We spent our time and effort trying to create it, and we're blessed that we broke through and found a way and a means to make it work. And it wasn't an easy journey. It was difficult, and we learned a lot from it. But I think where we're going to start growing and spreading our wings is through diversification. So you're seeing traditional stuff here that we've done, and it's not traditional, the Revolution, and now Rogue's the second coming of what the Revolution started. That second unit within that new doorway, that third doorway between the carbine and battle rifle that we opened up.
Right.
So there's another opportunity for another type of product. And that one I like because when you look at the wall here, look at all those parts. Like you're saying, you could buy parts and build whatever you want. You pretty much can. that's the cool stuff that Eugene Stoner designed.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like putting together Legos in a way.
Right.
And I never really appreciated it till I actually started working a lot with it. Then I got to appreciate what he achieved and did. I always liked the roller delay blowback system, but to build that, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And you better be a really good gunsmith, because not just any gunsmith can handle it, just even doing that.
No, they're not. They're
With
letting mess up
trunnions and-
MP5 bills out there.
Yeah, so, but you're right. When it comes to ARs, they piece them together. I mean, it's how it is. And yes, we have unique features. And I think the blessing for what I did, I was a process engineer. I wasn't a gun designer. And we worked backwards. If you thought about what we did a piston out here. All I did was put a mechanical key, because I wanted a single piece carrier, but my friend that was working with me at the time said, well, let's just put a key on, mechanical key. It'll save you time and money for right now. Who knows where this is going to go? Because he's tried a lot of stuff over the years and seen other people do stuff like we did and fail. And why spend all that money if you don't know where this is going? And pretty much after the first 75, I went that way.
Yeah, but you know, when you speak about unique features on your gun, they're not. They're manufacturers that do stuff just to do stuff. I mean, I've seen a lot of guns where I was like, "What the hell is this for?" And you know, it was special edition. Or there's a cut and a slide, or just crap that I'm not going to need as a normal. There's no use for it other than
It's just
pumping up the
geometry.
price.
Yeah.
And that's what's different about this gun. You know, we're driving back from the range the other day. I was like, Joe, would you buy that gun? Yeah, you buy that gun? And, you know, we talked back and forth about it and what the uses would be. You know, we're just goofing around, just talking about, you know, we're not policemen, we're not military, and, you know, we're not really hunters. But I want to get into, you know, the reason I wanted to get that gun, and I'm going to get one eventually, soon enough, because I want to get into hog hunting. Right.
This one's for sale right here.
I know.
You have a customer.
Yeah. And I tested it, so it's used, so I should get it for price.
Yeah.
See, he's got emotional tie to it
But it's
now.
got history now because it's been
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We talked about it. Here.
Yeah, there
I
you
want
go.
to say that thing, because there's actually there's a big hog hunting camp down south of us. Yeah, that I talked to Joe about. I want to go hog hunting, and we're talking about European hogs.
Yeah.
That they have, that they've raised. Yeah, they're big hogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know, for whatever amount of
The
price.
state needs stuff like that,
Yeah.
too. Like they do in Texas.
Yeah.
I get bugged all the time to go on safari hunts.
Yeah.
I have no rights in that country. I'll stay in Texas and go for the type of game that I
Yeah.
want. Antlered things. I'm
Right.
not, you know, into other animals.
That is just a perfect hog gun.
So,
Yeah.
but hunting on some of those ranches are good. I enjoy hunting. My son loves hog hunting.
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends that do that because in some of the areas people live, I mean, it's just they can get as many as they'd like.
I was in Oklahoma last year, and they actually, the farmers will pay you to
Yeah.
to hunt their fields because the hogs just do such incredible damage to the crops. You know.
Oh yeah, they just they dig up the land, make
Yeah.
wallows out of some farmer's field. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
so just
Yeah.
think when you're doing that, you're helping the farmer, and every time you buy firearms and ammunition, you're also helping the environment.
Right.
Because that excise tax, and we don't say that enough. I wish the NRA, I wish NSSF, I wish NSAGW, and any other entity that's talking about gun rights, I wish they would tell the public also what we do. All these things, even the fishing community, our gross profit, you know, if you made $10 million, let's say, in sales, or say you made $100 million in sales, so I can do the math easy, $11 million of that gross sales goes right to the Treasury specifically for conservation of the environment, you know, for the wildlife. So when Patagonia is out there with their backpacks saying they're not going to buy, you know, the water bottles, I don't know, Camelback products because Vista owned them and they owned Savage Arms. It was like, okay, you're a pompous ass. So you're bringing all your shit and telling from China, built by slaves, the Chinese people that are slaves there to a communist country, but you have no problem importing your shit there for cheap from slave labor and selling it to people and saying, go enjoy the outdoors with our Patagonia products, right? So I have a problem with that. So, and then you're bad-mouthing a company that owns a firearms business. Well, are you putting 11% of your gross income of all your slave-made products from China into the environment for conservation? Yeah. Shit, no.
No,
you're telling all those people to enjoy it as they're wearing the hiking boots from Nike that are made by the same slaves.
Yep.
Are they putting 11% of their income, gross income, to helping the conservation and the environment? Shit, no.
Well, that's what gun control attacks on multi.
So who's going to do this if they eliminate guns? Because we're the only industry that's doing this. So I don't see Nike bringing all their shit in. You know, hey, what are you doing for the environment? Why aren't you paying 11% excise tax? Bernie Sanders, hey, that moron, that frail and armed idiot. You know, Mr. Socialist. No, you're a communist piece of shit, is what he is.
Yes.
So let's, boy, this is going to go sideways here.
No, it won't.
But
we'll
let me tell you something.
Out from my
because why don't he pay his 90% of his gross income for taxes? You know, he wants us to do it, we the people. Why don't you show by example for the next 20 years, you piece of shit? You know, that's nicely saying it too. Because, you know, if he really wanted socialism / communism for medical and everything, why did he go to the best hospitals? No one in the media has questioned him. And he had his heart attack, and he goes to the best surgeons and hospitals in the friggin' world and gets his heart worked on immediately. Where if you were on this communist, socialist thing, like say, go to Venezuela, Bernie, and get in line. Oh, you're 78? You ain't worth fixing. You're going to die anyways. So why would we fix you? He'd still be in waiting line waiting to get his heart worked on. He'd be dead by the time they would call his name. Well, he's been dead for 2 years. Well, he's able to get heart surgery now. No, he lived in the luxury of freedom in this country and having the best of everything that this country can afford because of capitalism that grew. Why? Because us as individuals try different things. The farmer's not farming by hand or using an ox or a horse anymore. He's got state-of-the-art equipment, GPS controlled, and the friggin' tractor just drives and you sit there after you program it and it plows the friggin' field for you. That's why we can produce so much friggin' food in this country. Thank God. Or we'd be fighting for food amongst us.
They have it their way, we will be.
Well, that's what they're doing in Venezuela.
Yep.
They're eating their pets. I mean, let's get real. It's
and they want their guns
serious.
back.
So, if you're a man of integrity, which he talks about with his frailing arms, why didn't he go to Venezuela and get his socialist surgery done on his heart? Because, hey, we need this medical to be, you know, for everyone. Whether Medicare for everyone or whatever he's trying to say. Make illegals have them and people that don't pay into anything while we all become the slaves because we just keep paying and paying and paying and paying for a frailing moron that sits up there.
I do have some good news for you, though, Frank. President Trump, our president, has relaxed regulations on the export of firearms. Within a month, you'll be able to export firearms without having to get a license from the Department of State. Instead, you have a non-cost license from the Department of Commerce to be able to export your guns outside the country. I don't know how much that'll help you, but that's what's going to affect the firearms industry.
I prefer to sell mine to every red-blooded patriot across this country. Literally. Literally, yes. We will export.
Tyranny exists all over the world, Frank. Let's get it out there.
I know, it does. It does.
Those slaves in China, they need to be free too, brother.
Yeah, like in Hong Kong?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Speaking
What a
of Trump,
mess.
you got to meet him.
Yes.
What's he like?
He's one of us. You know, they want to say his daddy gave him money. Even if your daddy gave you $1 million to start something, it didn't turn into billions
True.
on its own. It's called a lot of hard working. Yes, he's probably the ultimate salesman, and he's a hustler. And the greatness of what I'm going to tell you of America is shown through him. Because you can fail and get knocked on your ass in this country and pick yourself up and still push forward and make something happen. Oh, wait, he failed several times. Didn't stop him, did it? And every worthless piece of shit politician in New York were there with their hands out asking for money from him because he was all their friends when he wasn't a politician. I wouldn't call myself a politician. I think that irks him too, but he is the president. But I would say I don't want to be a used car salesman because that's what all you scumbag pieces of garbage are. What have you done to the country other than put us $23 trillion in debt? Oh, wait. What should be investigated is every single one of them and all their family members and see when they came into Congress, what was their net worth? And after being there 5, 10, 20, 30 plus years, what's their net worth now? And family members. How many contracts, government contracts did they get? This thing's a cesspool of scumbags that have been living off each other's backs they're all living off the American people's backs, the taxpayers, because they waste a ton of money. It's so sickening. Anyways.
But get those guns out.
Well, there was a survey that came out. They were talking per capita, right? And the U.S. has more per capita. Well, maybe these idiots should start realizing, because every time they go after guns, all they do is cause more sales. Thank you for thank you for being so fucking stupid. Continue to be ignorant. Because they make sales for us, don't they?
They do.
They do.
They instill fear in the American people, and they start buying.
And the NICS test, NICS background checks, 10% up over last October.
So I want to see how they're going to come and take firearms away from we the people, as some of these morons have talked about, because they said on average, you know, when they talk about, like, say, murder rates, you know, hey, there's 3 out of every 100 or 0.5%, you know, half a point percent, you know, 1 person out of 100 may get cancer, this or that or whatever. They'll talk numbers, and I know I'm incorrect with my statement. But I read this survey that said there's 121 firearms for every 100 people in the country. Wait. You're going to come and take what? That makes me laugh. Come take them, bitch.
What is it?
121 firearms for every 100 people. So I guess we got spares.
That's a guesstimate. And that's a low guesstimate.
Yeah, because you know that they have absolutely zero idea of what they're actually in.
So when are they going to start realizing that this is part of our country's heritage? This is also turned into parts, hobbies. No different than cars, trucks, Jeeps, clothing, watches, hair, whatever. People do different things themselves. Look, tattoos. People get different collection of tattoos, right? Mm-hmm. You go to different artists, you have different artwork done, different colors. Why? Because you have that choice and you have that right to do it.
Freedom, individual choice.
Right? So everyone's doing something, even packages. Look at the packaging and the colors. You know, people do things differently. They want to stand out, right? You do it with packaging. That's my billboard. Hey, I noticed there's a POF over there. That's my billboard hanging in your store. So obviously some of that, or some of the older ones, we got newer colors that stand out more. So it's all marketing too. But at the end of the day, we do different things. How many people just drive their basic vehicle and don't do nothing, even if it's just a stereo? You know, even, I mean, nowadays you don't even need to mess stereos. The new vehicles, they're so nice. But the old vehicles, you had no choice. You know, I drive old school stuff, so I have no choice. But I mean, you doll up stuff, you dress it up, so it's the same thing. And at one point in time, because the Olympics, they shoot 22s, right? Yep. That's apparently okay. There is no different than an athlete doing a pistol shoot like the Desert Classic that was just here this weekend, or a 3-gun like Mystery Mountain 3-gun. That's the nation's big one for starting the year's competition. Those are athletes that run with firearms and compete with timed skills. Or a PRS shooting that's honing their skills with extreme accuracy at distances. And they're doing timed events. How is that any different than a basketball player, a football player, or a baseball player, hockey, soccer, or whatever you want to bring up? They're all athletes in different times. If you want to vilify something, but I haven't seen anyone in the firearms industry, or I would say in the competition, as our athletes disrespect our country or our flag. I haven't seen one of those. I haven't seen one of them kneel there in disrespect of our Pledge of Allegiance or anything. So I do know that the athletes that are in shooting principles are very respectful. I also know that most people that shoot firearms are very respectful. Why? Because as a car, if you don't handle them correctly, they can be dangerous, can they? Just like anything. Hey, I'm wheeling an axe here, cutting a log for wood to keep my house warm or cook food. Oops, I disrespected and wasn't paying attention, and now I hit my foot. Right? Yeah. So everything you do can and will harm you if you're not paying attention. Machine, last thing you want is your hand or anything getting caught in a mill or a lathe or anything like that, right? Yeah. You can create all these things. Okay, we create mics or whatever. You machine something for all this equipment here, but you're dealing with cutters that can cut you open, and if you're not right, up to the point of even killing you. So everything that you do is dangerous if you're not doing it respectfully. And one thing I've known with kids, when they learn how to shoot firearms, they learn a lot about respect.
Absolutely.
In doing that. You know, kind of like I'm saying, they're in trouble, kick them outside so they're not on their iPad or whatever. Let them stay there and, you know, go outside and play. Well, the same thing. Teach them how to use a firearm. They'll learn respect. So the day they get behind that 5,000-6,000 pound weapon called a vehicle, you know, that has killed more people than anything. I mean, hammers killed more people than that firearm there.
Yeah, only 296 deaths last year by rifles.
Yeah,
900.
They combine everything with suicides and stuff like that, unfortunately. But you know, a firearm did that. But at the end of the day, all these issues our society have is about, you know, individuals. They control what they're going to do or not going to do. You have a choice as an individual to make to be a good person, good family member, a good friend, a good citizen, or the opposite. And sometimes when you're the opposite, things don't go the right way.
And when you're the opposite, you don't really care about what they ban or what laws they have. That's why you're opposite.
Well, you know, you bring up a good point. So let's say they make laws. Let's say Democratic Party, which nowadays I believe they're turning communist.
They
Socialism is not even a word in my vocabulary because anyone that claims they're a socialist is a communist.
Yes.
Period. I haven't seen socialism work because it's all dictatorial.
Well, it's just a starting point for communism. It's not.
It's just
not
a nice way of saying everyone's going to have something.
Yeah.
Except the elitists called the politicians. want to control it all and you become their slave. So, but when you look at some of the things that's being said, let's say, okay, because they wrote a law that this is going to change. Okay, all right, let's go by your scenario. Let me put my feet inside this ignorant Democrat, especially this moron called a politician, and say, okay, so if I wrote a law and take these guns away, we can eliminate that. Okay, we'll go by the same common sense you're using. We can eliminate, I don't know, Border Patrol. That'll make them happy. I just said that. I know I sound stupid, but I'm in their shoes right now, aren't I? We'll eliminate Border Patrol. Hey, we'll eliminate the police. We really don't need the military. Let's eliminate them. Because we got something written on a piece of paper and says, you know, that's the law. So we're going to go by what they say. We're going to eliminate all these things. We're going to also eliminate, I don't know, the Democrat and Republican Party and all politicians. Because if you write it in a law, we're done. Everyone's going to abide by that law.
Exactly.
Then we can eliminate all of them, too. Oh, they wouldn't want that. It's because those laws aren't going to work. Because I have a constitution, we all do as American citizens. And somehow these politicians that swore an oath to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies have turned into the domestic enemy. Because while we're all working every day, week in and week out, to make ends meet and put a roof over our family's head and feed us, they're sitting there saying, how can we whittle away some of these freedoms and liberties? Because how many laws are there on firearms, just talking about firearms? There's what, 20,000 laws? Something ridiculous. How many laws are on drugs?
God only knows.
I wouldn't doubt there's the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has drugs stopped in this country at all?
Nope.
Wait, there's laws about murder. Mm-hmm. There's written laws about murdering. Has murder stopped?
Nope.
There's still murder going on. So apparently, law enforcement still has to be there to do their job. The justice system still has to enforce the existing laws. So if you don't enforce certain laws and all of a sudden we're claiming we're a sanctuary city, well, that's telling me I shouldn't pay any taxes in there because you got a rogue city that doesn't care. And how in the hell is that even legal? You got a bunch of pompous asses in the city council that's going to dictate and say, well, we're not going to do this. Screw you. Then I ain't paying taxes. Go F off. Yeah. I mean, because as sooner or later, people are going to stand up and start saying that to these idiots. I'm not paying.
Right.
You want this? You want to go back to the Old West?
You bring the
That's
tar,
where
I'll
you're
bring
going.
The feathers.
I'll just take care of you guys. All take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Anyone screws at you, you take care of your business. I'll take care of mine. If we need help, we'll join together. I mean, that's what the Old West was. Oh, wait. Wasn't that the Minutemen, too?
Yes, sir.
You had firearms, you protected, you fed your family, and then in a minute's notice, they band together to safeguard the little community. Maybe those Minutemen need to come out again to safeguard some communities. I don't know what to say, but this is ridiculous, the stuff you see going on. And it's no one, because no one's questioning them, because the media is complicit to it. They're the same ignorant idiots, activists in there. Except I don't believe our country's there. And Veterans Day, worst of all, we're talking like this, but I know our veterans, they swore an oath. They wouldn't turn on the American people. They stand for that Constitution.
Amen
and
to
they
that.
stand for freedom. And there's over 19 million veterans right now. And there's what, 2.5 million active, well, not active. There's 1.1 active, and then reserve totals the 2.5 million we have in the military total right now. So
There's 100 million gun owners. Largest standing army in the world.
yeah. So we're the Minutemen, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
So who do we support and stand by? Just like all law enforcement. And we just talked about the military. How many law officers are ex-veterans, ex-military or they're veterans, and some aren't even veterans that have sworn an oath to the Constitution too and upholding laws too. So you have them, and obviously you have red-blooded Americans that care and love for this nation. Look at you. You came from another country.
Yes, sir.
You know what freedom's all about.
I know what a communist looks like, smells like, and I can see them.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me that our politicians are leaning the wrong way.
Yeah.
If you live it and you see your country if you see your country being overtaken and you see the things that people do, the media, the propaganda that's in MSM today, mainstream media, that's what happens in foreign countries. When you start looking at things and they don't make any sense at all, but they keep repeating it because their mantra is, you say it enough, you tell a big enough lie, and you repeat it enough, people will eventually believe it. That's what they do, right? And they take away critical deduction and reasoning in school. They're telling little children what sex they're supposed to be, introducing all kinds of ridiculousness. And, that's it. I don't want to go off the train, but at the end of the day, take it from me. My parents fought communism. They know what communism looked like. I know what communism looks like. Even as a child, I grew up in a country that was taken over by communists. This is how they start.
And who knows it better than someone that lived it?
And you ask anybody that's come from a communist country how much we hate communism. I will die and burn it all down before I give a single thing up.
Yeah. And I'll be right there with you.
Yes, sir.
Wow, what a conversation.
Yeah.
Everything I wanted it to be.
We're all over the place.
Yeah.
I think we're probably about to run out of
We're
media
running out of
here.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up then.
Yes.
But
Don't forget to wrap up.
Oh, yeah, of course. Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Frank, we do appreciate you coming in. It was an honor. And hopefully somewhere down the road we can do this again, because I'm sure we probably have another 3 hours of conversation.
sorry.
No, I mean, it was great. I mean, it was...
We actually usually have an outline that we go by, but Byron and I
just
and
kind
Joe-
of threw it out the
Joe-
window with this one because
Yeah.
we
knew we knew that we all had the same sentiments about the things that are important. It's on Veterans Day. We paid tribute to a lot of veterans. We mentioned the veterans, and I can't keep pounding the table, but I think it's everything I wanted it to be. It was a great opportunity to meet somebody that I'm not going to sit around and kiss people's ass, and I don't get starstruck very often. I'll tell you, I'm very very impressed by your work. I'm very impressed by your love for this country. Most of all, you put out a great product, but like I said, the product's only as good as the man behind it, the trigger, the man behind the design. So I'm very thankful for you showing up. I know that time is very valuable to you. And, thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you. I appreciate
Yep.
it.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. But I'm just sitting here with friends.
Yes, sir. You made it feel that
Absolutely.
way.
Friends.
You made it feel that
Absolutely.
way.
I'm here with family, I think.
Yeah. Epstein didn't kill himself.
That's how I feel.
Let's go.
So with that, we are signing off. Episode 3 is in the books.
And
Epstein still didn't kill himself.
Oh, and make sure you guys go ahead and watch our review video that we did on the CMR. Also check out www.JustAPreviews. We'll be posting.
We will drop the review at the
Friday.
same time.
Friday.
It's
Yep,
Friday.
Friday
Yep.
at what 6?
Friday at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Mountain Standard Time.
So
That's
be on the
when it
lookout for
goes.
that review of that rifle I'm probably going to buy.
Yeah.
And of course, POF USA,
Pistol.
check them out and
Absolutely.
all their amazing products.
thank
But-
you.
you.
POF USA.
Do you
Come.
put? Does every
Wait,
rifle that you put out?
where Epstein didn't kill himself.
Thank
I
you,
think
Frank.
that's good.
I don't
Yeah.
think he killed himself either.
Isn't this ridiculous?
We're all
On
getting
something that's so serious,
Yeah.
it's turned into a nationwide ridiculous.
But you know what? The coolest thing about it is that it is something that is extremely serious because, you know, when they put him in that jail cell, I think every person with a half of a functioning brain cell in their head knew he was a dead man walking.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what's going to happen too? If Trump's reelected,
That was me.
if Trump gets reelected, and we happen to have within the next 4 years of his term a politician that may be criminally charged for something, they may have did something like the idiot. Anyways, the other Congress lady, Omar. Yeah. Oh my God.
Someone did something.
I believe that person would probably have less than 48 hours as they were behind bars.
Oh, yeah.
They would have to have security around the prison and inside the jail with them. Made sure they were watched 24/7. You probably need to put the military in there. Right? I wouldn't trust the guards there in the prison because someone was told to look the other way. Because I'm curious how you break your neck with toilet paper sheets.
Right?
2 independent coroners
I
have
think
said.
they were like triple layered or.
Yeah, whatever. It's like what? Wiping your ass?
Yeah.
But you know, the good part about it is you know, people, maybe it forces people when they see the memes out there, you know, the Epstein didn't kill
Yep.
himself. Maybe it forces them to actually
Do something?
read something and learn a little bit and you know, maybe it puts the thought in their head, well, hey, you know, maybe this shit does happen.
Yeah, and maybe that could be me. Mm-hmm. Because I just don't agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or have a podcast.
Okay.
All right.
guys.
No,
Appreciate it.
Frank, it was our
That
pleasure,
was
truthfully.
definitely my pleasure for sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Frank.
I had fun. Just shooting the shit.